Feeling thunderstruck? The Fixed Ops Roundtable is sounding smooth as lightning for day 4 of our Rock Revolution event. Enjoy the tunes of Mr. Blue Sky as we rock you like a hurricane with our expert speakers and panelists. Here to bring the purple rain is our host, Vanessa Collins.
Sing I Love Rock and Roll with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Vanessa Collins from Northwood University in Lithia and Driveway, here to welcome you to the Encore of the Ages. It is now day 4 of our Rock Revolution event, so let's make some noise as we get ready to rock one last time for our grand finale. Run with the Rolling Stones and type to the beat using the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Take the crazy train to our keynote speaker, Aaron Calvert from Principal Auto Group.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Holly Peters, and I'm here with Eric Calvert, the Fixed Ops Director for Principal Automotive. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Allie. Great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. This is a joy for me to get to be a part of because you have been such a large part of my journey. So very, very happy to have you.
I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to just jump into it. I know that a few things have changed since we last talked. So for those who don't know who you are or your story, can you give us a quick just background on your journey so far in this business?
Sure, absolutely. Well, as many people, I just dreamed as an infant of jumping into the car business and got right in as soon as I could. But obviously, just kidding there, I got into the car business by happy accident. I actually interned with a group out of Dallas when I was finishing up my degree at Texas A&M University. Honestly, it was like, oh, this will be a fun summer job where I get to drive some cool cars around and live at home with mom and dad and stack up some money to have some fun my last semester in college. And then when it came time to make a real decision on my career, I grew up in the Dallas area and all my job opportunities coming out of school were in Houston. And obviously I was not going to Houston. So I said, I'll do this car thing until I decide what I really want to do with my life. And now coming at the end of this month, it'll be 27 years in the car business. And halfway through my career with that previous group, they moved me to Houston anyways to start the platform there. Decided to try my hand at consulting for a couple of years with young kids. That probably didn't work out as well as it could have if I was in a different stage of my life. But I figured getting back into automotive retail was a better option than hiring a divorce attorney and figuring that all out. So got back with Principal Automotive, which were two of the guys I worked with prior were in the organization. And it's been 9 years now with Principal Automotive, and it's been absolutely fantastic. I ran the BMW Mini Center, as you know, as we worked together for many of those 9 years. And just in January, I was promoted to actually run the platform as a fixed ops director. So I'm now getting my feet wet with all of our stores throughout the markets.
Yay. Well, let me be the first to publicly congratulate you. I'm so excited, Aaron, and I'm really excited about what the future comes. You've earned it. It's well deserved.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so let him ride about 9 years. And when you stepped into BMW at San Antonio, what immediately stood out as the biggest opportunity?
It was really more processes than anything else. I mean, as you know, we were busting at the seams in our old building, and we were spread out. We had to rent warehouse space so that we could put another 20 lifts in to actually take care of our client base and make sure our guests were taken care of at the highest level we could possibly do. But I mean, the logistics of the dealership made it a bit of a challenge. So the thing that I looked at from the start was we need some solid processes, because the building and the logistics and the location were not going to be our friends. So what processes can we put in place? How can we start coaching these and training and make it repeatable and scalable as we continue to grow? Because they were putting a whole lot of cars in the market at that point in time. BMW's leases at that time were phenomenal. There were more 3 Series in our town than I think any other vehicle because of the lease special we were running. In fact, I was one of the ones driving one. So, but as we put those processes in place and continue to coach and get, consistent in inspecting what we expected, it allowed for us to perform at a high level, even though we had some obstacles and challenges in our way. And that made life a whole lot easier as we moved to our new building, which is the largest BMW center by square footage in North America. And, those hardships and processes that we put in place at the old building made us elevate our level of experience to the nth degree when we got here and could actually stretch our legs and take care of our guests. And it's been nothing but great ever since. And we've just continued to build upon those early learnings and early teachings.
That's great. I still have flashbacks to going to get a car out of the parking lot and realizing it was 3 deep. So then you have to go in and get the keys while it's raining and really cold.
Yep. I don't miss that. I do not miss that at all.
No, I think that you hit it on the head, just the idea of you can find a way to make it work. When we were in the smaller building, when we were landlocked, when we were driving cars to multiple locations, when we were having to get really creative, it felt like, to your point, we did get to just stretch our legs when we got there and see all of the hard work and effort really kind of fruition. Has there been an aha moment since you've been at the new store where you look back and go, man, that was the process that changed everything?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So far as an aha moment, I don't know. I will say, and you were part of this conversation, and it was unconventional at the time, and it's worked out. And the unintended consequences of how this worked out was better than the intended consequences when we did it. If you recall, going back to 2020 and in the middle of the pandemic, we were going into 2021, and we had no idea what our business was going to look like, how we were going to come out of this, where we're going to be able to feed our techs. I think at the time we were still working 50% on, 50% off to keep everybody socially distanced. And so we came up with the idea that let's put everybody on hourly rate for the first 2 months of 21. It was going to be January and February are historically tough months coming off the holiday season. I don't want any of our technicians to suffer financially. And then we used that to make a study on how we were going to quote time moving forward. Our challenge that I always had prior was we didn't use an official time guide. It was warranty times, a multiplier, which would not stand up in a court of law. And then depending on who you got and how they multiplied and things of that nature, you might get 3 different estimates from 3 different techs. Mm-hmm. So we said, let's make it real simple. We did take a vote. We said, if you want to stay on let's see if we want to stay on hourly or if we want to go back to flat rate coming into March. The overwhelming vote was to go back to flat rate, even though they enjoyed the consistency of the hourly wages. They did not like the fact that they were kind of putting a box on what their earning potential was. And so we said, great. And we said, we are going to make this simple. We are going to go warranty time across the board for our rates or for our quotes. If you're quoting it for warranty, it'd be the same as you're quoting it for customer pay. It took away the argument that if we had to goodwill something that was costing the technicians hours. It took away the argument that, I added this and this and this. Well, if it paid under warranty, this is what it would pay. And then we upped their rates equivalent to that 1 point or that multiplier that they were losing to make sure that they were compensated fairly.
Mm-hmm.
All that was to get consistency. The unintended consequence was, though, even though doing the math, 28 was the new 40, so to speak, for making sure you're 100% productive, that the technicians never got away from chasing the 40 hours. So you and I both tracked our daily, our weekly production and our weekly average from before we made this change and our weekly average after we made this change, saying exactly the same. The only difference was we were getting a higher effective labor rate, and that upped our profitability and our production a lot more than we anticipated coming into that decision. So it was a little unorthodox. And I think still to this day, I think some of the technicians just are like, can we just go back to a multiplier or go back to a time guide? But it has worked out really well. We're now year 5 of doing this. And so I think it's been a great move for us. And that's probably the one thing I would say helped accelerate our growth from a profitability standpoint the most.
I love that. And I'll tell you this, we had the opportunity to talk with the service management team not long ago, and I came out of that call just remembering the feeling of community and collaboration that we had when I was on that team. And you just took me back. I love that. Because yeah, you're right. We had no idea what was going to come of it. It was let's try it. If it works, we keep it. If it doesn't, we could it. Right?
Yeah. If you're going to fail and move on and fix it. But I think it's worked out really well. And another unintended consequence is, even though, you might have a technician interview somewhere else or be recruited somewhere else to go, when they start talking their rates, it's real hard to be like, well, I got to go backwards. Well, you're not, are you going backwards? If they're using a time guide that's different than ours, but I kind of like that in our favor of, yeah, we do pay very highly. And I think looking at our annual earnings for our technical staff, it's exciting to see how many of them have grown and have grown into 6-figure incomes year over year. And the percentage just keeps getting greater, which for me, I want them all to be making as much money. To quote Tully, I want them to all go home tired and rich. So that's kind of our goal here as well.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, so then this actually segues pretty perfectly, in my opinion, to our next question. So let's talk about a culture at BMW of San Antonio. You have been a part of it for 9 years and truly being the leader as far as fixed ops side goes. So you've been driving the ship. Let's talk about what it looks in real life for the culture that you're building. Where did we come from? Where are you headed? And how do you see that? How can you tell that it's working?
Gosh, that's a tough question, Allie. And you even gave me that to prepare for it, and it's still a hard question. So I think the culture is one of care. I mean, you've got to care about your people to begin with. And I think the fact that we're associate first and we want to make sure our associates have the best environment from a career standpoint and show career paths and what a career with Principal Automotive looks like is the key. If you take great care of your people, they're going to take great care of your guests. It's just, they go hand in hand. And if they don't have that servant's heart, then they're probably not on the right team. And so we analyze that on a regular basis, looking at, do we have the right people in the right seat, and do we have the right people on the team? And if they're not the right person for the team, then we still love them, but maybe they just need to go be successful somewhere else. If they're not in the right seat, then what can we do to make them successful? We're not afraid to say, hey, this wasn't the right position for you as an assistant service manager, but what if we pivot it here? And one of my success stories is now our service manager at our Hyundai location, which she was a solid service advisor. She did a great job. She was a great assistant service manager. But when we moved her into our service drive management position to manage the support staff coordinators in our transportation department and in our loaner car inventory, she really, strived and really excelled at that administrative and management aspect. And so as an individual producer, she was middle of the pack, but as a leader, I think she excelled, which is what led her to the opportunity to get her own department. And so it's a matter of just finding the right fit and the right seat for everybody. also from a cultural standpoint, in order to excel, there's a level of accountability. I mean, you've heard me say multiple times, and you've been in the meetings, and it's not my quote. I got it from a consultant we worked with, is a culture will be determined by what you tolerate. People want that level of accountability in everything they do. Otherwise, it's just the Wild West. And if there's no processes and no parameters and no rules, then it's just anarchy, and nobody can be successful in that environment for a sustained amount of time. So, making sure you inspect what you expect and holding people accountable to the performance, clearly communicating what that performance is, so there's no ambiguity on what your expectations are, I think are all critical to making sure you have that culture of accountability. And how it's successful, I would say it's successful from just the turnover percentage, which is what we monitor on a quarterly basis, and then I look at it annually. My goal every year, without fail, one of my annual goals is to have turnover less than 15% for fixed ops. And again, I just got the report today as I was at our home office. We were at 15.1, so a little off, but I mean, I'd still say that is a level of success that we are retaining our associates, and they are finding a satisfying career with Principal Automotive.
Aaron, I'm just so proud of you. That made I have a full heart from that. Very, very good job. And I will say too, one thing that I noticed in the time working with you was that the culture also the village started to take care of itself, right? It wasn't just you as the leader saying, hey, this is who we're going to be, and we expect everyone to be it. It was that over time, the people who were there and became bought in on the culture that we were building, they held each other accountable to that expectation, which speaks mouth, in my opinion.
Which I think is critical. Like, it could be a dictatorship. I could go in with my experience and say, this is how we're doing it, because I've seen it work multiple times under multiple franchises. But that's not going to do our associates any good. That's not going to grow future leaders. I'm doing a disservice to the organization if I operate under that guise, because I'm not growing future leaders within the organization if we have the growth opportunities. So I think an environment of collaboration and say, here's what I think. And I want my associates to challenge me. I want my direct reports to say, no, that is the wrong decision. What if we did this? Or no, that is going to tear down our morale, or that is going to fly in the face of, our purpose and our mission. You're looking at it from the wrong angle. And that's what's great. I mean, I think you did that multiple times. My service management team that you visit with have gotten much more comfortable challenging me or my directives if I'm wrong. And this wouldn't be the first time I was wrong today. I mean, I'm wrong all the time. I might think something's great in theory, but in practice, they're like, we're on the day-to-day. This is a bad call. And so you have to support that level of collaboration from both the growth of leadership as well as knowing how it affects your associates and your people in real life versus, hey, this looks good on paper. So I think that is the biggest thing is if you're the smartest person in the room, find another room. And I don't want to ever be the smartest person in the room.
I missed that. I haven't heard that in a while, but that, amen. So this is something that I'm excited to hear about. You have gone almost 27 years in this business and worked your way up the career ladder. What are some leadership habits, or one, that you had to unlearn as you moved up?
Oh my God! If you went back to my days in Houston with our previous group, the guys would probably be like, "You need to unlearn a lot of stuff." So I did have that feeling when I was a younger manager that you had to kind of rule with an iron fist, and that I grew up as a young associate in the car business with a very stern and direct and harsh leader, and I thought when I got my role that that's kind of how I had to lead, and holding people accountable to a level was very stern conversations and things of that nature. So what I had to unlearn was that's not the way to lead. that is the antithesis of that. And so I think partly having kids helped with that. And then, partially just realizing who I am as a person and who I want to be as a leader. Like, I'm a fiery person. I like, if something upsets me, I'll get real fired up really quick, and then I'm done and I'm over it and within 15 seconds. But the carnage it leaves, if you let that get out in front of your associates, especially if it's not like your direct reports or you go a level or two down, I mean, it can crush them. And, I don't want to be that type of leader for those associates. So being able to insulate myself from my weaknesses and play to my strengths. I mean, if I get upset about something, it might show on my face, but I'm going to go take a deep breath. I'm going to take a lap around and I'll come back, and then I'm not probably going to address it with especially if it's a level or two down. I'm not going to address it with that associate. Let me go address it with their direct report or their direct leader, excuse me. And, okay, this happened. How can we fix it? How can we coach so it doesn't happen again? Making mistakes, that's all part of learning.
Right.
That's what, one of my mentors in this organization, when I first got my department, we talked, as I was about to leave the nest and go open our Houston platform. He was like, yeah, I mean, when you're leading somebody, he goes, I knew you were making mistakes all the time. What I'd let you do is fall down. What I wouldn't let you do is kill you or fall down to where it was going to be fatal. You can skin your knee, but I'm not going to let you make a critical error. So letting people make mistakes is how they grow. Mm-hmm. And me not reacting to those mistakes is how they realize that I'm there to support them and not be the tyrant that's there to say, oh, you can't make those types of mistakes. Making mistakes is a given. You just have to, how you handle it and how you coach on it is what will ultimately define their success afterwards. So I definitely had to learn that.
I was going to say, the fact that you did unlearn it, and I got you at the point of like, I got you. That's one of my mantras with my team is I want them to make a new mistake every day. But new being the keyword, right? Because new means you're learning. I'm going to be there to catch you. I might not catch you before you skin your knee, but go try it. And then we're going to talk about like didn't work. And then moving forward, you're going to go, oh, don't ever do that again to your friend.
Yeah. No, you start making the same mistake over and over. That's a different coaching point, because a mistake made more than once, that ends up being a decision. So then you're talking, is it lack of care or is it just lack of focus? And so that needs to be addressed a little bit, a little bit more directly. But
yes. Well, okay, to wrap us up, I am so excited about your new journey. So I'm going to reframe the way that I had initially written the question.
Okay.
Well, now that you are starting a new fixed ops leadership role this month, what does your first 90 days look like?
Oh my gosh. So right now, my first 90 days is basically seeking to understand, because I don't want to go in and be like, hey, we're underperforming here, we're underperforming there, because I don't know. I can look at it from a 50,000 foot level and say, well, why aren't they profitable? They're in a great area of town. This doesn't make any sense. Or, hey, this is a high volume import store that I think should be turning more hours and should be more profitable. Or we got this brand new point, and that being underwater is acceptable, but are we really performing at the level we were 6 months ago? So me getting into the stores and learning the people, and then finding out what their goals are and what they're working on is going to be, my focus for the first 90 days, setting a benchmark for what I can hold them accountable to after that. Not going in and saying, well, you're underperforming because, I went to a store yesterday, one of our sister stores, and it's out of market. I've never met the GM in person. They had a whole new management team, and I was unbelievably impressed with the management team that they had in fixed ops. I was like, man, these guys all know what they're doing. So why is fixed ops not performing? Well, they've only been there 2 months, 3 months. They're just now getting what was broken to begin with. And they're, when we're talking, they're like, okay, they're working on all the right things. So let's monitor that. Let's see how we're increasing car count. Let's see how we're holding our advisors accountable. Let's see how we're managing productivity in the shop. And let's see how this can grow from there and turn that profitability around. And so my first 90 days is really just, I want to learn the people. I want to learn their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats, and then put a plan in place to hold them accountable. I mean, we're going to have benchmarks. We're going to have KPIs. We're going to be having those discussions. And then as we move forward and on agreed upon, level of performance, then we will, start ratcheting up the accountability if we're not following through on my level of expectations.
Eric, wait to watch you this year. I'm your biggest cheerleader on the sideline.
I appreciate that. Be cheering from across the highway.
All right. Well, Aaron, this has been incredibly valuable. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I know that our listeners are going to take a lot out of this. And here's to a solid 2026. And thanks again for being on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. I love getting the opportunity to talk to you about fixed ops all the time.
All right, I'll see you later.
All right, take care.
Axle One was created to allow auto dealers to interact with all their data, anywhere, anytime. Think of it as a dealership operating system that connects all your existing tools, improving profits and reducing costs. Our AI engine, Expert, provides role-specific insights and identifies actionable paths for growth.
Faster decisions and greater transparency. Book your demo today to learn more about what Axle One can do for your business.
If your service lane's lost its groove, you need Frog Data at NADA 2026. Come experience fixed ops velocity and fixed ops mojo.
Feel the Inferno with Joel Furno from Citrin.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have Joel Furno, founder and CEO of Citrin Automotive. And Ted, hospitality has been top of mind for a lot of conversations in the industry today.
Sarah, you're so right. Hospitality is the word. Today we have Joel Furno. Joel, the expert working with dealers all across this country. Joel, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey, Ted, Sarah, thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. We had a great conversation on the last event, Sarah, with Ed Roberts, and I'm eager to learn more about the work that Joel is doing with dealerships.
Absolutely, Ted. And with that, Joel, to kick things off, I just want to talk a little bit about what's changed across automotive. We've seen a lot happen in the last 5-6 years, but from your perspective, what's changed in dealership economics that makes service execution more critical today?
Yeah, I think everyone's experienced some margin compression due to interest rates and customer expectations being even higher than they ever have been before. Additional services being required of the dealer, from pickup drop-off services to more loaner cars, more customers coming through the service drive, and just a higher emphasis on needing to execute at a very high level. Um, I think a strong fixed ops department, a strong used car business will pull a dealer through any economic challenge, but it requires a lot to execute that at a high level.
Joel, you're so right. And there's so much writing, especially on the early parts of the service process and the final parts. Where do you see service departments consistently breaking down across the industry from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think it's one thing even difficult to find great folks to answer phones and make sure that the phones are being answered on time. I know AI is addressing that in certain ways. And then, so it's one thing to get the customer to the dealership. And then I think, what's the experience like when they arrive? Is the service drive backed up to the road, or is it empty and nobody speaks to a customer because all the service advisors are busy on phones or talking with other customers? That initial first impression, I think, is a big one. And then how do we end the service experience after a customer spends $1,000 at the dealership? Are they handed their keys and asked to go get their car themselves, or is the car pulled back onto the service drive? We come from a hospitality background. Those little details of that first and last impression are really important, but with all the other priorities inside the dealership, we see a lot of those opportunities get missed.
Well, and Joel, you touched on the word that I think is really important, again, to this entire conversation, and really at the heart of what Citrin does, hospitality. We're thinking about all the different ways that customers, are interacting with so many different personnel at the dealership during, as you mentioned, during that service visit. And, despite the fact that a lot of dealerships do have strong leadership and great cultures, their same problems continue to persist. And we still see customers having fractured or dismissive experiences. So why do you see, the same problems persist, even though these dealerships have strong leadership?
Yeah, great question. I think the root of the issue starts with the fact that there's a lot of pressure on managing unapplied labor expenses, right? The hourly support staff that aren't viewed as revenue producers. So I see a lot of dealers skimp on their support staff, and they view the car mover as a porter. I really view them as a valet, as a greeter, as the first and last impression of the dealership. But because of the span of control that service managers have, they don't have time to interview 10 or 20 porters and train them properly. Aside from just the basics of moving cars back to the shop. So there's really not a frontline defense to make sure that as customers are arriving, as the advisors are already stressed out and as they're busy juggling the appointments and everything else, we don't see a lot of dealers really investing in the hourly support staff. We actually see dealers cutting the support staff to make their financial statement look better on paper, not recognizing that by not investing in labor to support your revenue producers, there is an inherent cost to that far outweighs, I think, any savings when it comes down to the lower dollars. So I think cost management is certainly important. Dealers are looking for places to cut. I would not advise cutting when it comes to the folks who are directly responsible for the first and last impression that the dealership has, and also supporting the advisors to make sure that they can do their job at a high level and that the lot is organized so the technicians aren't waiting for cars. We see so many issues start with the fact that the hourly support staff is not really a priority inside of car dealers.
And Joel, as a follow-up to Sarah's question, you come from that hospitality industry, so you've got a different perspective. I don't know if you'd mind sharing some of that background, because I think that's really important to the conversation.
Yeah, no, so I started Citrin in 2006 out of my bedroom with $200, and we started by doing restaurant and hotel valet parking services. So Herb Citrin actually in 1940 went out to all the restaurants and hotels in LA and became the first valet company and convinced them to say, guys, run your restaurants, run your hotels. Let me deal with the parking attendant. Let me deal with your parking lot. Let me take all the liability associated with that and focus on it so you guys can run great restaurants and hotels. Fast forward 60 years and nearly every hotel and restaurant uses a third-party valet service. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Automotive has been slow to adopt that. I think back in the earlier days, 10 or 20 years ago, you can get by with a couple of porters to be kind of the catch-all car movers to help out around the shop. But with the increased demands of how many cars are coming through and the heightened expectations on the service department, it's put a lot of pressure on the dealership to do more and do more with less. So we've, 10, 14 years ago, a dealer principal recognized our service levels at his favorite restaurant and asked us to take over his service drive at his Mercedes dealership. And we looked at the service drive as we would a restaurant or hotel. So what's that first impression like? How are we making sure every door is open when the customer arrives? And what's the greeting word track? How do we pass them off to the advisors? How do we make sure the parking lot's organized so that the technicians can find cars quickly and we can pull them up quickly? And we recognized we knew going in we could improve the customer experience, but we didn't realize is how much time we could give back to the advisors and how much less stressful it is to work at a dealership if you have a support team that shows up at 7 a.m. every day, following a standard operating procedure manual, knowing exactly what to do as soon as a customer pulls in, and just streamlines that entire process, both from the customer perspective as well for supporting the entire service operation as the car moves from the service drive to the parking lot, to the shop, to the car wash, and back to the service drive.
And if I recall correctly, Joel, that dealer, I believe in Ohio, is somebody who's been very involved with the Roundtable and referred us to you and vice versa, if you don't mind sharing that. I think that's a very interesting part of the story.
Yeah, Don Andrews, who was our first fixed ops director that we partnered with, and learned all about CSI and learned all about automotive retail operations, and he learned a lot more about valet parking. And we combined our skill sets and really turned the operation around. They already had a great culture, great people, great family. But these little details, I mean, when you're in a retail environment and you have 50 or 100 customers coming through and you have to keep the machine moving and you have to hit your monthly number and make sure you perform better than the year before, these things that are important but not urgent just get missed. And I know I always say you're not going to keep your lights on by having great porters, but if you really want to optimize your service department, making sure that that's a focus point, and somebody at least inside the service department is in charge of leading that team and making sure there's a strong first and last impression, and make sure that there's sound operating practices to as that vehicle navigates its time at the dealership.
And Joel, you've added a new element to the process, service drive acquisition. I think that's really novel and unique. And tell us about that and where typically some of those vehicle acquisition programs typically fall down in a dealership.
Well, with how high interest rates are and how there's margin compression, I understand why it's hard to invest in unapplied labor expense. And so I think general managers are under a lot of pressure to cut costs, given the uncertainty that exists this past year. The service directors know they need the resource, but it's hard for them to ask for more when all the emphasis is on cutting costs right now. So they're having to run their dealership with less personnel and produce better results. So the light bulb moment was, how do we go beyond providing this great service that we know pays for itself? Hard to put that on a spreadsheet. What happens when customers are greeted properly and when there's that strong support team? How do you justify the expense? And so what we've recognized is a lot more dealers are looking at ways they can buy used vehicles from their service drive. And so through some mentoring from Brian Kramer and learning about what he did down in Naples at the Toyota dealership down there, where I remember calling him one day and said, Brian, am I crazy to think that our valets could offer a free appraisal or gently inquire with the customers if they're interested in trading their vehicle in or having a conversation with somebody? And he said, no, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think this is where the process falls down. So we have 6 test pilots now to where we've leveraged our valets to gently inquire as they're checking the customer in, hey, we're short on used vehicles. Would you be interested in talking to a specialist? I think we can get you above market for your vehicle. That's a great opportunity. So a very simple 2-line word track to open the conversation. If the customer says yes, we check them in with the advisor so the RO can be opened and that we're not slowing down the process. And we're handing that warm lead over to the sales department. Equity mining is still important. Doing text before the customer arrives is really important, but having a catch-all that when we greet every single customer, we can guarantee 100% of those customers are being offered an appraisal or offered to have a conversation. We're allowing the service department to function at a high level and for this not to disrupt their process. And we're also taking 100 people and lowering that funnel to maybe 15. So the sales team only has to have 15 conversations versus 100 to get to a 2 or 3% conversion rate of ROs to trade-ins. So, being in that space for the last 6 months, there's just a lot that goes into it. You have to have salespeople ready to do appraisals and train. You have to have the right software. You have to have the right follow-up program because not everyone's going to sell their car on the spot, but you're planting a seed for the future. We simply want to fit into to be able to help be a catch-all to make sure as customers are greeted. And so with the way gross margins works on used cars, if we can get an extra 4 or 5 cars a month even, we're paying our entire invoice. And there's no longer arguments between the service manager and the GM about adding another person because the service drive is getting backed up. So we hope that this is a path to just help the industry through the current times to be able to justify the expense of having a hospitality focus. And for folks who are going to manage this themselves, I just would encourage everyone to focus on investing in your frontline staff, and then using this as an opportunity for them to earn commissions or finder's fee for every appointment that they help secure for the sales team. And you're able to take somebody making $15 or $16 an hour and give them opportunity to earn more income in exchange for providing leads, which helps your employee retention for those roles that are very high turnover. Think in the industry that average turnover is 300% to 400% for hourly porters, and then it feeds you, helps you build your funnel of having conversations in a respectful way that actually enhances the experience. So good so far. It's just we're seeing and respecting all the steps that have to go into a successful vehicle acquisition program. But I think it's one of the biggest unlocked opportunities for dealers right now. It just takes complete dedication that this is going to be a strategic focus for that dealership.
Joel, it's so impressive to hear not only the story of Citrin and how this all got started in hospitality. And again, I mean, this transcends all different OEMs. It transcends all different sizes of dealerships, all different kinds of service drives. And I think the amazing piece that I've noted about what Citrin has been doing is you really tailor all of these intricate processes and these experiences to the dealership environment. But a lot of dealerships, they've had struggles, right? You mentioned a lot of challenges in this type of environment with hiring, with turnover, with training, with just conducting the interviews. So I'd love to get your take. What do these struggles tell us about the underlying service drive environment?
Yeah, I think where I'm seeing the biggest opportunity or challenge is that there's just so many hats that a service manager has to wear that you can't possibly be good at all of them, right? And so the resource constraints around that and having to do more with less and having to just get through the day the best you can. Technicians are short. Obviously advisors, I think turnover's gone up over the last few years after COVID. So there's just a lot of challenges, and I have a lot of empathy for that. It's easy for you all to have experts on and tell them how to do better at parts or do better with warranty. But it's like, where do you even start? Because there's so many things. I would just suggest that they pick one strategic initiative to add, whether it's improving their frontline staff or improving their warranty or whatever it is. Pick one up per quarter or two and challenge your team on those specific priorities. Because again, this is on top of having to run your business every day in a very demanding environment, a retail environment. So I think that is probably the root of a lot of these symptoms, is that there is just a large span of control and a lot of demands placed on that role.
We're speaking to Joel Furno. He's the founder and CEO of Citrin Automotive Hospitality, working with many, many dealerships across this country. Joel, going back to some of the elements that you've been sharing with Sarah and myself, talking about inconsistency on the service drive, how does that show up financially for dealers when a dealer is, like you said, perhaps more interested in cutting costs and making it look better on the statement?
It doesn't take too many more yeses to additional services to pay for the entire bill. One more yes a day because the customer was greeted when they arrive. I mean, imagine pulling into a dealership and the feeling you have when there's a line back out the door. How many customers leave because they are assuming that because the drive is backed up, it's going to take them an extra hour or two to get their car serviced. Sure. Also think of pulling into a dealership and maybe it's your first time after you bought the car for your first service. And there's nobody there on the service drive. The advisors are inside. And so you're not really sure where to pull in. And it might take you a minute or two before somebody can come out and to even greet you. How much appetite do you have, or what's the feeling like then of that first impression that would lead you to having a good relationship with the dealer and feeling like you're valued as a customer? So I think that just that initial first impression that people have and that feeling that they get already kind of coming in stressed out and unsure what's going to happen or if they're going to be asked to spend more money. But then imagine the difference of pulling in and there's somebody in uniform smiling at you and waving you in, making eye contact with you as soon as you see the service drive. And they wave you in, they show you exactly where to stop. And they walk over to the door and they open your door for you and they welcome you to the dealership. And they help you walk into the dealership and introduce you to your service advisors. Or they stand there and talk with you until the service advisor is able to come out after they're finishing up with their other appointment or the phone call they're on. And that little interaction, I think it's really hard to put a spreadsheet number on a spreadsheet, but I think it can not defy too much logic to say that is going to increase their spending threshold, their willingness to say yes by getting that impression off in the first start. And then from a retention perspective, I think the stats are around 60% of customers won't return to a dealership if they have a bad service experience. And so looking at I think every year over the last 3 years now, more and more customers are moving to independence. Dealerships are losing customers out of their ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And so again, there's 10 different steps from how the appointment's scheduled to obviously the experience with the service advisor to obviously more so making sure the vehicle is repaired the first time with the technician. But in between all those lines, what is the experience like when somebody first pulls in the dealership? And then what's the last experience like after they pay their bill? Is their vehicle pulled up on the service drive for them, or are they handed the keys and they have to walk out in the weather, especially up here in the Midwest and the East Coast, to have to walk out to get their car after they paid a bill? How does that make them feel? So I think those are the things that are hard to put on a spreadsheet and put in front of a GM who may not have worked on the service drive before. But all those things go into creating best-in-class service that will enable customers to want to return to the dealership and do more business with the dealership over their lifetime. So I think that's where we really help a lot and where that focus needs to be, regardless of how that part of the business is managed.
Joel, lots of incredible insights and advice that you're sharing with our dealers and our audience today. I would love to pose a lightning round quick question for you because 2026, lots of things are top of mind for dealers as they're looking at, as you mentioned, expenses, as they're looking at hiring, as they're looking at retention, all of these factors. Where should dealers focus first if they want to improve results?
I think it starts with culture. How happy are people working at the dealership? What's the culture like? What's the most what's the biggest pain point for the advisors, for the service manager, for the team that works there? And the dealers who I really see are doing well in this environment are ones who are committed to culture. They're not worried if they have a bad month or two. They're committed to the long-term life cycle of the customer. And to maintain that lifestyle, it starts with the team and the culture. And so putting their team first and finding out what their pain points are and making sure they can show up every day with the tools and resources and support needed to do their job, I think is where the industry is growing and evolving into, from a month-to-month business to a long-term customer retention culture-focused industry.
And Joel, I couldn't help but notice that you walk that talk at Citrin, because also you're all about culture with folks who work for you and how you treat them and the opportunities you give those folks. If you want to just take a few final moments to tell us about that, because I think that's equally impressive.
Yeah, I think the idea of servant leadership and putting your people first, similar to automotive and car dealers, we're selling a commodity, right? And why would somebody want to come work for our company and go park cars and greet customers and wash cars at a car dealership? Why would anyone want to be a service advisor or a technician and stay at that dealership versus all the other dealerships they could go to? Why would anyone want to buy a car from your dealership versus anyone else's? And it all starts with pouring into our people and making sure that we're hiring people who aren't just high performers, but who are high integrity and match your culture, not just can hit a number or sell X number of units, but actually fit the mold of your culture. And then what's their working experience like? One thing that's been really important to us is we have around 800 hourly team members who are working inside car dealers. I've met so many amazing service directors and GMs and principals who started off in the dealership, in the industry at the age of 17 or 18 as a car washer or as a parts runner. And now they're providing an unbelievable life for their family. And I think one of the best things and my favorite thing about the automotive industry is every personality type that exists can find a home inside of the ecosystem that exists at car dealerships, from the office to the service department to the sales department. And so we've actually had 150 of our employees last year get hired by our clients at no cost to them, for them to become advisors or technicians. And so the first part of our mission is to create transformative job experiences for our team that lifts them up and helps them find a career path. And we believe that by doing that, we can then provide extraordinary services to our clients and have long-term partnerships that allows our business to flourish. So all we have is the 18 to 24-year-old who shows up in his uniform and ready to greet customers and work hard in the service department. So we've reverse engineered, how do we make sure we serve that as our first customer and make sure that that person's taken care of and has a great experience? And for us, our playbook is very simple. We have to advertise all the benefits that come from working at our company, why somebody should pick us. So it's really a sales process. We make sure they have flexible scheduling around their school schedules, which gives us access to higher tier talent that's out there. And then finally showing them a career path to eventually work for the car dealer and our partner or grow with our company into a management position. And so I think if we want to create great customer experience, it starts with the employee experience and what's their experience like through their onboarding, through their training, through the time. It's already stressful enough to work inside a car dealership with all the customers and all the demands. You can't make it more stressful internally, right? And so making their environment better. One other piece of advice I'll offer is we partner with a nonprofit called Marketplace Chaplains. For $7 per employee per month, we have a care partner who's a trained chaplain, simply going in person once a week to ask our people a very simple question. How are you doing? Is there anything in your life that's going on that you need help with? We get quarterly reports, not on details or names, but on topics covered. And it's really given me a lot of empathy and compassion to see what type of issues these folks are dealing with at home. 95% of the issues that are being brought up and talked about aren't work related. They're a sick family member. There's a mental health issue. There's financial pressure. And so, we all have numbers to hit. We all have budgets to hit. We all have to, perform at a very high level and make sure our team's focused and doing their job. But we're also human beings at the same time that have a lot of different things going on behind the scenes. And so how, as an employer, can we invest in resources to really lift up our people? It's not all altruistic. I also believe that by caring more and doing more to serve them, then we're going to get better results out of them and for our clients and for the long-term viability of our business. So I hope those tips on how we've built our culture and the little things that we do. The final one I'll give is we are decentralized. We're in 100 locations over 14 cities. About 6 months ago, we launched a program to where every month our executive team, including myself, gets 10 names of our people across our business to call. And we call it just a check-in. And that check-in is simply asking them how they're doing, how they like their job experience, and if there's anything that we can do to support them. And so more so than just picking up nuggets on how to improve our culture, the amount of feedback we've gotten on beyond any other gift cards or bonus programs, just the fact that they have executives calling them to ask them how they're doing has made a pretty huge impact. And so I think for GMs, walking through your shop once a week and shaking the hands of your technicians and saying, thanks. I know it's scary back there. I know you haven't spent much time if you came up from the sales side of the business, but go back there once a week, pop your head into orientations, welcome people to your dealership and break those walls down. It's scary for me to walk into a GM's office, let alone, a new employee inside the car dealership. So those little things, I think we get way too complicated when we think about employee retention and culture. And we have to show people that we sincerely care about them and their well-being and take action against that.
Joel Furno, it's all about the people and the culture. To our audience, if you want to elevate your game in 2026 and learn more about a world-class service experience, reach out to Joel Furno. Again, founder and CEO at Citrin Automotive, works with a lot of our dealers at the Fixed Ops Roundtable and in Fixed Ops. He's on the web at Citrin.co. You see his email scrolling at the bottom. Joel, congratulations to you, and just impressive what you're doing there and the culture and how you're elevating that fixed operations experience. So again, Sarah and I want to congratulate you and look forward to hearing a lot about the success you're having here in 2026 and beyond.
Thanks, Ted. It means a lot. Great being with you both.
Everybody, Joel Furno, founder and CEO at Citrin Automotive Hospitality, Citrin.co, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
98% of customer experience is how well or how poorly you communicate. Well, how come my software partners spend 98% of their development on workflows? What if they spend 100% of their time on workflows and we spent 100% of our time on communication. Then we'd be able to truly create transformative experiences for customers, and that's what True Video does.
Luma Scanner has landed. A breakthrough in automated appraisal that changes everything. Get your first look at NADA.
There are a lot of competitors out there. What we're looking for, though, is the total package.
CDK is a proven solution. The support is ongoing, the development is ongoing, and for us, there is no other solution.
I really believe they know our business, they know the automotive space, and more they continue to be able to help us use the system the way we want to do business.
That relationship is really what this is all about. You don't have a relationship with software, you have a relationship with the individuals behind the software. That's what we're really comfortable with CDK.
If rock taught us anything, it's that the real impact comes from turning it up and giving it all you've got. Here's a look at how that spirit came alive at our Lithia Suburban Collection pop-up event through donations and charitable giving.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Today we are at Suburban Land Rover of Troy and we have an amazing group of panelists with us here today. I'm Julia Leitz, a student at Northwood University, and with me is
Dustin Ciccarelli, General Manager at Suburban Subaru of Troy.
Dane Tobo, General Manager at Buick GMC of Troy.
Lane Pulaski, I'm a recruiter for the collection.
And I'm Michael Stummon, also a Northwood University student. So I'm going to give it back to Julia over there, so get started.
Well, thank you all for joining us here today. I know we're super excited to have you here with us, as well as to learn more about donations and charitable giving. So with that being said, how does Lithia and the Suburban Collection really choose what causes they would like to support?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing that we've all as a group, decided is if we're going to choose a charitable donation or a cause, it's got to be something that one of us or someone in the group believes in, because we don't like just hey, here's a check. We want to be involved, and we want our employees and our people to care about it too. It helps our culture, it helps us get closer with the community, and it just lets us really get more involved. So I think that's our biggest thing. It's got to be something someone on our team believes in. It's going to be a part of for us to get involved with.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's great.
So what recent charity project had the biggest impact, would you say?
We're currently working on it's Blue Sleigh with the Troy Police. So all of our stores adopted a family in the local area, which I think is really exciting. They give our stores the list of things that they're looking for, and you get the gifts for them. So that's really cool because it's something that's in our own backyard versus, helping people that might be in a different state. And then another one that I really like that we do is something that he got us started with. It's Walk for the Red. They help with firefighters that are battling lung cancer. And so that one's really near and dear our hearts. First responders are always something that we like to try and help out with.
Yeah, that one's been doing that. So this was our 5th year, and collectively over the 5 years, the collection has donated well over $100,000. Wow. It's a full-time firefighter out of the state of Michigan that started an organization called Neighbors United, and he walks once a year. He starts in one city in Macomb and walks 140 miles across the state in full gear, and raises money for
Local firefighters.
Thank you. Raising money for firefighters. Sorry, it's it's close to me because it's when I'm not here at the dealerships, I volunteer for a local fire department and as a firefighter and EMT. So it's something that's dear to my heart. We help out, and a lot of the stores get involved.
Very cool.
No, I think that's wonderful. I mean, giving back to the community is huge, and that, not only stands out cool and has a main crew, but also for the others involved as well. And so I think that's great, especially with the fire department. My dad's brilliant, so hearing that is great. But kind of jumping into that, you do a lot of great things and get a lot of people involved. So how do the employees participate in all of that, in giving back and with their volunteer efforts?
Yeah, I can probably take that one. So I work at the Subaru store, and obviously Subaru has a long history of giving back to not just the community, but different pretty much primarily 5 local or national charities. But the people that we have that work at our store, we don't want just to be good at what they do. We do want that. We want them to be good salespeople. We want them to be good service advisors, good technicians, but we also want them to be passionate about giving back to the community. So we have 5 pillars at Subaru and 5 events every year. And the employees aren't required to come, but they all volunteer. And we go to a local hospital. We do a local dog adoption event. We go to a local school, and every year we supply supplies for the teachers at one of our local elementary schools every year. And every year we hear how great it is that we're able to go and help them out. And especially the principal of the school is very thankful for everything for the teachers have, because they don't really have enough supplies every year, and they usually end up covering out of pocket for the additional supplies for their students. So I could go on on the things that we do. I mean, Dana and I have worked together and late for years on ways that we can support our community and for Subaru, and our employees love volunteering and being a part of that and just helping the community.
And it's something that Lithia too is not just Suburban. Lithia stands behind it. We actually we give every employee in the company 1 paid day off a year to go volunteer. So every employee in the company gets a volunteer day off, and they can go pick a volunteer project of their choice, and they get paid for it. So it's the entire company stands behind us helping out, especially within our local communities that our dealerships are at.
That's where you.
Well, we know you guys like giving back, especially in your backyard. So how would you say the community responded to your charitable, presence, specifically the local community?
Lane, you could probably speak to this because I know, social media is a big thing to do now. And I think we I don't want to say advertise it, but we put it on the spotlight on social media in a lot of cases for the community to see not only what we're doing, but to get them involved as well. And we've had a lot of attention from the community to reach out and say, hey, how do I get involved with that next year? And Lane used to run a bunch of our social media, so she saw a lot of that firsthand that you could maybe speak to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, a lot of people will comment things on our social media pages. But I've even, while being in store, have had customers walk up to me and mention, oh, we saw you at the trunk or treat event that you were sponsoring and things like that. So it just kind of depends on what exactly that they, connected with us on. But I definitely hear word of mouth, and that also does online.
And it goes back to our being involved aspect in it too. It's not just our name on a banner that we sponsored something. We have actual team members there working in the event. The community's going to interact with you.
Yeah.
Right? So, and Dustin knows that better than anyone, because his customers are probably some of the most loyal customers in our collection, in our group. And I think your customers get involved with your events all the time.
Yeah, so we have Subaru ambassadors that like to come to our events with us to support, but just volunteer with us. So, usually out of the 6 events that we do per year, we'll get a few of just our regular customers that like to be involved, because that's how passionate they are about what we do to give back to the community.
Very cool. It's awesome to see the local community really gravitating towards it and embracing it.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I think it's great to hear about all the ways that you all give back to the community, and it really definitely, goes a long way, and you see that. So thank you all for joining us. And with that, I'm Julia Louise with Mike from Penrod University, and see you next time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Our next speaker has an affinity for rock and roll. It's Matt Wilmsen.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Affinitiv panel, and Ted, quite a lot is happening with Affinitiv and lots of great questions that we're going to have with Matthew today.
What a great space to be in, Matthew Wilmsen, with Affinitiv, Senior Vice President of Commercial. We met Matt last summer in a service department in Houston, Texas, at one of his clients. Matt, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Sarah, thank you as well. Look forward to this discussion.
Yeah, in fact, if I may, next week already, Matt, beginning of February, we're all going out to NADA to Las Vegas. Now, will Affinitiv be there?
Yes, Affinitiv will be there. We will be in booth 1543 in the West Hall. For all those interested, our full team will be there to demo our full suite of products.
All right. Well, if it's okay, Sarah and I would like to talk to you a little bit today about what's happening in the industry, particular with fixed operations. And first question, Matt, if I may, AI is changing the way customers find service department. It's dramatic. Okay. It's happening now as we speak. Why is this shift more important for fixed ops right now than for the front end, let's say vehicle sales?
Yeah, Ted, that's a great question. I think ultimately the question revolves around, are you maximizing your fixed operations website, your service page? Is it up to date? Are your coupons up to date? But on top of that, is it optimized for AI? I think a lot of attention gets pushed towards variable, rightfully so. But I think when your marketing team at a dealership are focused on variable, you drop the ball on that department that matters most, and that's the fixed operations side of the business. So that's what we're going to talk about today: how to maximize your fixed ops webpage to drive more traffic and gain more trust with search engine optimization, especially in how that relates to AI. I think if you think about it, if Google were to disappear tomorrow, how is a customer going to find your dealership? Because that's what's happening right now. People are no longer typing into a search engine. They're asking AI on their phone. They're trusting that first response that shows up in their web page and their web search. AI is in control of that. So search hasn't disappeared, but it is evolving. And today we're standing at the exact same moment as when Google replaced phone books. And I just want that to sink in a little bit. Think about where we are right now with regard to internet searches, and are you prepared to take advantage of that?
Matt, if I could do a quick follow-up, I'm noticing when I search now, I'm searching on ChatGPT. It used to be that Google, when you searched, gave you multiple options, right? Multiple listings. When you search on AI, it doesn't happen. They give you one, okay?
That's exactly what's happened. We've lost control of the funnel. Now everything is determined before that search string is even produced. You're no longer given a choice of 10 options, you're given one option. Well, how do you ensure that you are part of that one option? If I go to the web or if I ask AI to find me the best service department for my Honda Accord, who's going to show up? There are 100 different boxes that you need to check within your SEO to make sure that you show up in that AI generated response. Are you doing that? And that's kind of what we want to talk about today. So people didn't stop searching. They're typing, they're asking Siri, Alexa, ChatGPT, Google AI, and AI gets to choose before you even see a website. Think about that. AI is making a decision before your customers even get to your website, which means if AI doesn't understand your dealership, it can't recommend you. And if AI can't recommend you, do you even exist? Are you visible? So that's what we want to talk about today. So I'm sure everyone's experienced what an AI overview looks like in a search result page. If you go to search, what's the best dealership to service my vehicle at? Are you showing up or not? So yeah, it all comes down to, we call it Affinitiv AI optimization.
Well, Matthew, that brings up a great point. And, a lot of our fixed ops leaders that are listening today, and general managers and dealership decision makers that are listening right now, they've heard a lot about, traditional SEO, and they know, they've maybe had experience with, how to optimize in those situations. But what you're talking about with actually optimizing for AI in a service department, this is a territory that a lot of our listeners may not be familiar with. So what does that actually mean from their perspective, and how would it be different from traditional SEO?
Yeah, good question, Sarah. So if we think about it, traditional search, if you think about Google AdWords, it's driven by keywords, blue links, and you're competing with 10 other sites, and it's all traffic driven, okay? AI searches is usually responding to questions. It gives you a summarized answer, and you compete with AI's chosen sources. And AI is versus Google, which is, again, keyword based. And again, how much money are you spending on your keywords versus the authority behind AI? Remember, AI is all about authority. Who's putting that information in there? Who's training the AI? Is your SEO training the AI to find you? Or are you still stuck in 2012 using keywords as your primary source to drive clicks? You're behind the 8 ball on that. And AI is always going to prioritize clear answers. It's going to look for trust. So what are your dealer reviews looking like? I could be a dealership 30 miles away from where that customer is searching, but my dealer reviews are higher. Well, that's going to drive trust, which is going to cause that AI to react. So all different ways that you need to, ensure that you are optimizing your SEO off of, not just based on keywords, but that AI authority.
Matt, I'm also noticing that when I used to just go to Google, I had a short search, just a couple words. When I go now to AI, I'm writing a lot more lengthy questions, looking for answers. I'm noticing that. And I'm curious, when it comes to service revenue, especially, why is that vulnerable in the AI era if dealerships do not adapt?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And when you think about that, the result being AI optimized is going to drive more qualified service traffic. So customers arrive pre-trusting your dealership. Again, AI is all driven on trust because you're asking questions. So customers are going to arrive pre-trusting your dealership. That's going to drive stronger RO volume and give the dealership long-term protection for fixed ops as traditional SEO and clicks decline. Again, you want to be at the front of the page. You want to be at the top And traditional SEO, there's no trust in that. AI is solely based on trust.
Well, Matthew, you bring up such great points with that because, a lot of what customers are looking for today, as Ted mentioned, and as you've pointed out, customers are now aware there is, some of that pay to play happening with, Google searches and with traditional SEO. And, our service department leaders and dealership management that's listening today, of course, everyone is going to want to have their business show up in this AI search as being, the best, or being that opportunity for customers to be able to go in and have their vehicle repaired, and they may have complex questions in it. So, what kind of real world service opportunities do you see AI optimization actually unlock for dealerships?
Yeah, I think it, again, by being able to be that source of truth on the internet, by empowering that AI to find you and build that off trust. Again, you can't pay to be recommended by AI. You have to earn that position. And I think the new generation understands that. Again, to your point, this is no longer a pay to play game in that sense. You are earning the right to get that business. And that's going to drive more trust, driving more dollars into your fixed ops department.
Sarah, you and I recently had a conversation where a customer was referred to the dealership through one of the AI tools and asked who should they deal with in service with their particular product. And the AI referred them to a particular service advisor. And that advisor had some amazing reviews. And it was based on actual building trust through these reviews. And the AI was searching, Sarah, all of that. So that's exactly some of the things that Matt is telling us here.
Yeah, I think an important point is AI is trained to think like a human. It asks, who actually knows this? Who consistently answers this? And who is the safest recommendation? So if I'm not taking advantage of AI, because again, it's going to think more like a human than paid search. Again, when we're thinking of traditional SEO, we're going back to 2012. That's when that was really established. I don't want to advertise based on 2012 rules. I want to advertise with rules based on today. And that's, empowering AI to work for me. We're no longer optimizing for Google. We're optimizing for intelligence itself.
Everyone, we're speaking to Matthew Wilmsen with Affinitiv, one of the leaders in our industry, on the great opportunity right now in fixed ops and with AI. Matt, I have a follow-up, if I may. Why is now, here we are at the end of January, we're already a month into 2026. Yeah. Why is this now the critical moment for the dealers watching to invest in AI visibility for their service departments?
Yeah, I think it's, with regards to service departments, variable that's a tricky animal to tackle every year. Used car market is up, it's down, new cars, interest rates, all that. So if I'm relying strictly on variable to drive my business, I'm missing the boat. So I need to be focused on the back end of the shop. We know this, being fixed ops individuals ourselves. We are in the era right now of an evolving SEO world. If we're not evolving our SEO to target our fixed ops page, and again, I challenge any fixed ops director to ask their marketing team, when was the last time my fixed ops page was updated? When was the last time SEO was altered or changed within my fixed ops page? Because again, even going to keywords and traditional SEO, if I'm not constantly updating my service page, you're not showing up anyways. I guarantee you your marketing people are paying attention to the variable side, but not always do they pay attention to the fixed ops side. On top of that, am I optimized for AI? Again, just things to ask yourself as we go into 2026 and you go to NADA. All the talk is about AI and how can I utilize AI inside my dealership to manage leads, to talk to my service customers. Those are all great ways to utilize AI. And there's a number of different companies out there that do that. We do it even here at Affinitiv. But on our SEO side and our digital advertising side, we are at the cutting edge of AI optimization. And I think that's key. If I want people to find my webpage and find my service page, you have to be optimized to take advantage of the new generation that is utilizing AI as their primary source of truth.
Everyone, Affinitiv is leading the pack in this new era of search. And I don't think, Sarah, that dealers will be able to, rely on the old methodologies like Matt is saying. They're going to have to earn it this time around. And the way to learn about that is if you're taking the trip next week to NADA, which Sarah and I are doing, and we're going to meet up with Matt and the Affinitiv team there as well, is to put Affinitiv on your short list. Visit with Affinitiv. They're going to be in the West Hall. You can see the booth number 1543W scrolling across the bottom. Matt, what kind of things can our dealer audience expect to see when they visit next week at Affinitiv?
Yeah, we'll have a great booth set up, a number of demo stations. We have a conference room, a stage. We'll have a bar. It'll be a great time to just come by and get to know our team. I always like to say you can do pretty much anything for your dealership with our Affinitiv single sign-on page, except we don't have a DMS. We've got everything else. So if you need help understanding how to maximize the digital landscape right now, we'll have digital marketing experts there to go over your SEO, to go over your market plan, your advertising plan. We've got equity mining. We've got service lane vehicle acquisition. No matter where you need help at your dealership, we've got a solution that you can take advantage of and gain more market share, fixed ops and variable. But I think, go ahead.
Matt, this is exciting times, I was going to say.
Yeah, and I come back to this AI optimization. We call it AI, SEO AI. The AI brain is ready to be trained. So that's the thing. We are training AI to understand you, and the winners of this are going to be decided right now. So SEO has gone a long way, but it's being replaced, and you're either in front of AI right now or you will be left behind. So it's a changing landscape for sure.
A very changing landscape, Sarah. And you and I are seeing that in real time before our eyes.
We are, Ted and Matthew. Thank you again for sharing all these incredible insights. I know a lot of dealers in our audience today are going to be really excited to tackle this in 2026.
Yeah.
Awesome. Matt, if our folks in our audience, if they're not going to NADA, what's the best way for them to get more information on what Affinitiv can help them with?
Yeah, you can go to affinitiv.com, check out our website. We've got all of our products, and feel free to contact us through our website, and we'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you.
Great, Matt. Thank you. Sarah and I look forward to visiting with you next week in Las Vegas and seeing all this ourselves and going through some of these demos. So congratulations to you, Matt, and the Affinitiv team on all the great work you're doing.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Sarah. We really appreciate being a part of this.
Everybody, Affinitiv here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Create the ultimate lane experience with the Affinitiv Service Suite. And set your dealership apart with integrated solutions powered by data. Make your service bay more profitable with Affinitiv Book. Offer scheduling anytime online in 3 minutes or less. Display vehicle service history, maintenance reminders, and dynamic offers through a unique customer portal search. Affinitiv Book can help you see a 97% average service capacity utilization. Plus, enjoy flexible management options and increase shop throughput by defining service intervals. Enjoy mobile and desktop write-up with Affinitiv Smart Lane. Welcome customers in the lane and provide seamless sign-and-go experiences. Perform quick vehicle walkarounds and capture potential repair opportunities via annotated photos and videos. Review factory maintenance plans and previously declined repairs to recommend services and obtain instant approval. Streamline processes with adaptive workflow technology that enables you to roll appointments into ROs. Increase efficiency and customer transparency with Affinitiv MPI. Complete more MPIs and drive service recommendations with preset templates and custom workflows. Capture every repair. Send RO updates via the MPI app, SMS, and email. Plus, monitor statuses and filter by workflow events from the MPI ledger. Put visuals behind your service recommendations with Affinitiv Tech Video. Explain inspections with up to 7 minutes of HD recording. Ensure clear audio by eliminating background noise. Or disable feature to capture specific vehicle noises. Attach to a customer's account with instant playback. Expedite approvals and increase CSI by sending the video to a customer's email. Expedite approvals and increase CSI by sending the video to a customer's email or phone via Affinitiv messaging. The Affinitiv Service Suite is designed for dealers centered on customers. Affinitiv, elevating the dealership experience.
It's New York or nowhere for our next segment with Brian Kramer and David Spisak, filmed live at our NYC pop-up event.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Valentine here with Ted Ings. We are at Uber headquarters in New York City. And Ted, we've got some exciting questions for Brian and Tate today.
What a rare opportunity. We have both Brian Kramer from Cars.com, Cars Commerce, and David Spisak, Disruptive Growth Solutions with us. Gentlemen, welcome, and really honored to have both of you here.
It's very kind of you. We appreciate being here. I mean, I'm honored to be here, and it's been fabulous listening to everybody's perspectives and feedback.
Isn't it amazing, David, the evolution of Fixed, especially in the last 5 to 10 years?
Well, you know, Brian showed a lot of things this morning. One of the things that I want to bring additional attention, it was actually a McKinsey slide with all the circles. Yes. That was McKinsey research that showed that we are continuing to barrel towards greater and greater revenue. We sort of went from 500 billion to 850 billion in climbing, and that's true. We know people are keeping their cars longer. We know that 80% of 20-year-old cars are still on the road. And fixed operations has a unique opportunity. And think about this, you cannot possibly quadruple the sales department. But however, you have right now 80% of parts and service revenue is being handled by independents. So we got 20%, they got 80%, even though we've got better facilities, better trade technicians, better warranties, better parts, better amenities, loaners, Wi-Fi and everything else, but they're getting the 80%. So I'm just thrilled that more and more dealers and more variable people are starting to think, how can I start to collaborate with Fixed? And Brian, I mean, you know, this is such a great place to start with service drive acquisition. Right?
Yeah, and I think that I would also, even before we get into service drive acquisition, I would, you know, we've got everybody from the tip of the spear here in fixed operations, and they've already built their quick service lanes, and they're doing crazy velocity, and their retention with the manufacturer and with employees is best in class. So they've got the operational piece, which I think that probably the majority of the industry needs to get that, you know, a little bit further developed. But I would challenge everybody here to really focus on driving more traffic digitally. I think that there's not enough. First of all, there's not enough marketing, not enough dollars investment. If we're looking at the concentric circles that David's talking about, what the mix is, and it's going to $2.1 trillion of revenue that's potential. The marketing spend doesn't align with that. And we're still spending 10 times more in variable than we are at fixed. So it doesn't get the same due, even though we're retaining 73 cents on the dollar and versus 34 cents on the dollar in variable. So it doesn't add up. And I'd also think that there needs to be a greater awareness with the marketing departments and also with all the fixed operations directors to know how many visits am I getting to my website? What are they converting? How many appointments are we converting off those websites? And look at the same conversion funnel with the same attrition and resources as we do in sales with fixed ops.
I think one of the big benefits that I get out of these meetings, David, is I end up taking a lot of notes, and I end up learning a whole lot on topics that I thought I knew a lot about, but they continue to evolve and get better.
What a great comments, and I could not agree with you more. I wake up every day saying that I'm a white belt. You know, both of my boys study Taekwondo. One's a black belt, one's belt away from that. And I tell them I'm a white belt every day because I wake up knowing very well how much I don't know. And every day in this, if you don't feel like that right now, more than you ever have, something's wrong. You're not paying attention.
You're living fantasy.
It really, and it's a dangerous thing because if the smartest dinosaur, there's nothing to be proud of. If you're the last dinosaur to be extinct, you're still extinct. So it's time to wake up, and it's really great what you said, because there's 100 takeaways just from this event today that people could go back and make actionable and instantly start moving towards a better result, and not only better for Fix, but better for their dealership, because we got to get rid of the silos, Ted. We got to eliminate the silos and really leverage Fixed and take advantage of the fact that they're the ones that drive retention. Fixed is also the epicenter of your culture, right? If you don't have culture in Fixed, you don't have culture. If you don't have retention in Fixed, you don't have retention.
And if you don't have retention in Fix, you don't have a service drive acquisition program worth going after.
You even get there.
And if that is the future, let's just say that's the hottest thing going, and all these different things that we go to, that's the hottest buzzword, but then nobody connects the dots in order to execute it. So very few do, because it requires, as I say, not molesting the service customers.
Well, we got to stop the molesting.
And it has to come to an end, but you can't go around alienated. But everybody always says that that's what we need to do, and let's focus on 3% sales as a percentage ROs, but nobody talks about how to get from here to there, right? And what does that look like? And if you're in a 3,000 repair order store, it looks like 15% of those vehicles should be appraised face-to-face, and you can do some more automation, and then 20% of those should close. But that's not an easy thing. And if you don't have, I see it every day across the country, more often than not, where the service manager wasn't included in the decision, the controller wasn't included for same-day check process, and everybody's not aligned on what it is, because it's a whole dealership initiative. It's not just a sales effort that we're going to insert and impose on the service department. Everybody's got to be bought in and understand why those people are there, and they need to be part of the team.
Well, gentlemen, go ahead, David.
Can I just say 30 seconds? Can today be the last day that we're surprised by things that are obvious? I mean, honestly, I know that sounds facetious. It's sadly not. Second thing is, can you ask yourself why we continue to be committed and loyal to things that have been proven to fail month after month, quarter after quarter, and year after year? And third thing, can we when we finally step up as an industry and really commit to developing our people? I know we got the great Northwood University here, and what they're doing to transform one person at the time, this industry. We have to pour money into our folks, just like we invest in our tech, and we're going to get a lot greater ROI out of our people than any solution you buy.
Well said. David Spisak and Brian Kramer. Sarah, so honored to have both of them.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you. Good. Thank you.
It's kind of a mix between a sense of pride and solving a problem.
When you are taking on a multi-million-dollar investment, you have one opportunity to do this right.
When the Jim Ellis team came to us, and when really any of our clients come to us, they say, hey, here's this box that this brilliant architect put together, and we need you to help us come up with the best flow put, the best throughput, and really the best design to help us maximize our efficiency in our service department. So when you walk into a finished project like this and you see your design and your layout, the equipment that the team put in, it's a really cool feeling.
Pride. It's just incredible that our small little company can accomplish something this grand, and we do it day in and day out.
The last couple episodes have been neck and neck. This will be like our most competitive one yet.
We're all just ready to bring our A game. We know it's sink or swim.
The other teams, they seem to be running around like crazy, so I think we're doing pretty well.
You have a really strong team. I'm really excited for that opportunity, but nervous as well.
We're down to the last 4.
This next speaker was born to run. It's Eric Meahan with Repair 360.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. What a great honor. We have Eric Meahan from Repair 360 with us here today on the Roundtable. We have heard so much about reconditioning and the importance. What a great year and what a great start we have. Eric, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. You know, dealers are really looking for efficiencies. Before we start, Eric, next week, it seems the whole world is converging on Las Vegas on that big NADA show. Will Repair 360 and yourself, will you be out there?
Yeah, we're going to be there. Come look us up and stop by. We'd love to kind of go through the trends we're seeing in reconditioning for next year and kind of how we think we can help dealerships become more efficient.
Great. Well, efficiency and recon is all top of mind. So I'll come back to that as we wrap up a little bit later. Eric, in the meantime, if it's okay, I've got a couple questions to ask you that I'm wondering if you can shed a little bit of light on. And what we're seeing is that some of the biggest challenges dealerships are facing right now, we're in the fourth week of January. I can't believe we're a month in already. Within that used vehicle reconditioning vertical is recon, okay? It's a big challenge. Again, getting things like approvals, getting parts, and having all this ready. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing as well? I called out a couple of them.
Yeah, you're really hitting the nail on the head. And the reality is reconditioning has become more complex, but a lot of the processes at the dealership haven't evolved to meet that complexity. And a lot of what we're seeing with our dealerships are complexities around the vehicle themselves, right? They have more ADAS systems, which require more calibrations. They have more electronic systems, require deeper diagnostics. We're seeing more EVs, you're seeing more hybrids. That adds a lot of complexity to the reconditioning process. And then layer on top of that is technician shortages, right? So there's still a shortage of mechanics, other type of skilled labor that's out there. Dealerships now are needing to rely more on sublets than ever before, and those have to be managed. And then layer on top of that, a lot of dealerships are still doing this on, pen and paper, email, text, spreadsheets, and they're essentially making that process more complex than what it should be.
Yeah, you're so right. And the amount of dollars involved is staggering. Okay, that time to front line, getting that down and reducing that. If I can ask a follow up, how can dealerships restructure their recon departments to streamline workflows in your estimation?
Yeah, so what we typically coach our dealers on is to move away from this siloed department style reconditioning more into a predictable production workflow based system. And the best way to do that is really make sure you have a clear owner of your recon process. So it's not sales versus service. Make sure that you standardize your workflow, and that should start all the way from the time you appraise a vehicle that you're going to acquire till that vehicle is frontline ready. And that makes sure that you have a consistent process. You're delivering a consistent product to your customers. Treat reconditioning like it is a production line, because it is the supply chain for every dealership. And then I kind of hit it on a little bit before, but reconditioning should start at the appraisal process. If you're going to acquire a vehicle at that time, you can use tools like Blue Driver that help you identify what is wrong with the vehicle, what parts need to be ordered on the vehicle. And that kind of gives you a head start on lining up that vehicle for success through the reconditioning process. And then lastly, which gets back to dealers who are still running a lot of this on paper, is really creating shared visibility. So everybody knows what's going on with that vehicle. If it's idling, sitting around, why? If it's waiting on parts, why? If it's waiting on approval, the person that needs to do the approval has visibility into that. And that will definitely help them streamline their reconditioning and speed up their time to market.
You're right. All this starts with the appraisal. I'm noticing there's also now an emphasis, it seems, the last year and a half, 2 years, on doing more appraisals in the dealership. What a great place to do them in the service drive. You mentioned, not siloed, bring everybody all together. And really, that service drive is a gold mine, for everybody in the dealership, and everybody wins. And it's not like going to the auction. I can, I've got the history. I could look at the car up on the lift and, and start that communication process earlier, right? And I think, in fact, let's hone in a little bit on communication, okay? Because you're mentioning a number of things that could hamper the streamlining process. How are profits impacted? And again, time is money. When dealerships don't have the proper management systems in place to ensure that proper communication each step along the way in the recon process.
Yeah, we like to tell our dealers that poor communication quietly kills their profits. And that happens a lot from, we see vehicles that just sit around and they're idling and nobody's working on them, but nobody knows why, right? Because they dropped the ball in between the steps. You have vendors that should be working on some of these vehicles that either show up late or don't show up at all because they weren't communicated with around that vehicle. You mentioned approvals, but there's also, if there's a supplement that needs to happen on the vehicle, that also sits around waiting for that approval to happen. And then, of course, we see work that is either duplicated or just missed altogether because the communication wasn't happened. And every time a vehicle sits around an extra day, an extra hour, just idling, that's money that's just leaking out of the bottom line of that dealership.
You mentioned people owning different parts of the process. I was in a dealership late in last year. It was in December, and they had the same thing. They had vehicles waiting outside, and what happened was the used car manager would have to approve anything going into service for the recon process. But it was Wednesday, and the used car manager was at the auction, was out of town on Wednesday, and was not due back until Friday or Monday. And they told me, well, you know what? We're going to have to wait, maybe 2, maybe 4 or 5 days until he gets back to start the approval. And then we may have to order parts. And I'm just thinking of those days. And now it's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's adding up. And every day that we add, the gross on that vehicle is going to decline very quickly. We've only got what's the window? Is it 7 to 14 to 21 days to really maximize the whole process? What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they should be shooting for. And that's why we tell people they should treat it like a production line and make sure you have a backup to that person, or he has a tool where he can do that remotely if he's going to be that critical in the process. But you're right. Every one of those vehicles now, they're going to make less money per unit because of the delay.
And, in a bigger dealership, a bigger group, it just expands, exponentially. The numbers get bigger and bigger. What are some of the things, because you work, Repair 360, you work with a lot of dealers, across North America. What are some of the influences, the macro influences that are impacting recon today that you are aware of? Maybe even some of the nuances, and how do you expect those to impact the industry? We're in a new year, 2026. What are you seeing as you look ahead at the crystal ball?
Yeah, I mean, some of it we talked about, but it really is recon's being reshaped by labor complexity, margin pressures, and a lot of this is around the technician shortages, vehicle complexity. But excuse me, the other one that we're seeing a lot of is as new car prices have risen and used car prices rose quite a bit post-COVID, is the average age of vehicles is growing because consumers are keeping that vehicle longer. And then, of course, everybody is, hot on reducing cycle time. So you have this speed to market pressure, which is very true, but that is applying a lot of pressure on the reconditioning process at the dealership itself. But this is why we say to our dealers that they need to stop treating it as a back office function, but make it more predictable, make it a production system, right? And that will help solve a lot of these problems that they're running into.
Eric, the dealer has a lot of money on the line in this inventory. I mean, they own the parts inventory, and then you've got this used vehicle inventory. And we are always concerned about obsolescence in parts. Okay, there's obsolescence in the used vehicle inventory,
That's right.
but it's bigger and magnified. Okay, and the clock is ticking. And you mentioned things like the technician shortage, and who's working on the vehicle, and finding the keys for the vehicle. All this enters in. And as you said, there's a lot of dealers still doing this on Excel spreadsheets or on pen and paper. And yet there are great tools, okay, to help the dealer with this. Tell us more about Repair 360 and some of those tools you have, and how you help dealers.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we really see Repair 360 as being your production system. So it pulls vehicles in, allows you to appraise a vehicle, allows you to understand what work needs to be done after you appraised a vehicle, allows you to schedule the work for your technicians and your sublets, helps you actually quote and order parts. So we try to keep visibility into every aspect of what's going on with that unit at any important time. And one of the things that's really important is if the vehicle's idling, the vehicle needs rework, if the vehicle has wrong parts, it bubbles it up to the top and brings visibility into those problems, helping you address those issues quickly to bring down that cycle time.
Eric, I want to maybe get some takeaways from you for our dealers and our retail audience watching today. Can you share with us maybe the top 5 ways that dealerships can streamline their recon process to reduce turn times and maximize profits? Just some quick takeaways, things that we should be aware of that we can implement and start on right away.
Yeah, I mean, I would coach anybody just to focus on speed, visibility, and predictability. But I think the ways that they're going to do that is, if you're not starting recon at the appraisal process, like we've talked about, you need to focus on doing that. And there's a lot of great tools out there that can help you do that, and that will definitely help reduce your cycle time. If you're treating each unit individually and you don't have a standardized workflow, that's one of the biggest drivers that you can have on your business, is to create a standard workflow so you get a very predictable process throughout. Create real-time accountability and visibility. So make sure you have a tool that is bringing visibility into every vehicle to allow you to measure things that are most important. Make sure that you empower your technicians with the tools that they need to do the job when they need to do the job. And this also applies to your sub vendors too, right? They're a very, very critical part of this process. And then probably the last thing, which I think is more important, is we've talked a lot today, and I hear a lot about reducing cycle time or time to the front line. And that is a lagging indicator of your success. But in reality, you should be measuring what's most important, which is your leading indicators that are going to drive that number down. And the things that we coach folks on to measure are things like idle time, how long vehicles are sitting around, how long vehicles are waiting for approval or waiting on parts. Another big one that we see quite a bit is vehicles that had the wrong part ordered. Right, so now you have to wait for the part to get returned, reordered. That's adding a lot of time into the process. And then lastly is around rework itself, right? That is something you should be measuring, how often it's happening, whether it's an internal employee or a sublet vendor, and then coaching those folks to success. And if you apply those rules, that will bring down your cycle time.
You've mentioned the word a couple times, visibility, right? You've given visibility to what's happening in used vehicles and reconditioning. So important right now. A lot of our audience, I mentioned earlier, is myself included. We're coming to NADA in Las Vegas next week. The weather should be good this year.
Yeah.
What kind of, first of all, they come see you at Repair 360. What kind of things are they going to see? What kind of things are you going to be able to show? And give us a little glimpse into what's happening next week.
Yeah, you got it. So the one thing that we're going to be hitting on at NADA is really some of the trends we see going on into 2026 through 2027 around reconditioning itself that we think dealers should be focused on. And then we're going to show you, using a tool like Repair 360, how we can actually help you get ahead of the competition, leveraging those products. So those are going to be the big things we'll focus on, very tailored demonstrations around how we can help you solve those problems. And then we do have a couple of new features that customers have been asking a lot about that it actually help increase visibility and communication around a vehicle that we're going to showcase at the NADA. And then lastly, we're going to have some specials at the booth, some giveaways, as well as special pricing to help our dealerships sign up there and drive through success in 2026.
I got to put a teaser out there. Anything you could share with us today before we come out there?
Yeah, so probably the largest feature we're going to showcase is around how we increase communication around a unit itself. So you're going to see that throughout our mobile application and our desktop version. So now we're driving communication around the product, and we've been piloting this with some customers and actually watching it actually drive down cycle time just by increasing the communication.
I love it.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you're coming to Las Vegas next week, NADA Show 2026, you want to put Repair 360 on your short list. Make plans now to visit with Eric Meahan and his team at Repair 360. They are the best in the industry. They know this part of the industry very, very well, and probably nothing more important right now to generating profits and becoming more efficient in the entire dealership. If you're not going to NADA, some of our audience does not go. Eric, what's the best thing for them to do? Repair360.com?
Yeah, just go to repair360.com. You can connect with us on there, and we'll definitely make sure we still take care of you, and then give you a glimpse into some of the stuff we're going to showcase at NADA.
And I see your email address scrolling across. Is that okay if folks reach out to you that way?
Yep, love to. Happy to always connect with anybody.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Recon, the focus for 2026. Eric Meahan with Repair 360. Thank you for all you do for the industry, and very grateful to have you join us today, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Ted. I appreciate it.
Eric Meahan, everybody, Repair 360, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey guys, Nick Lawrenson, CEO of AlphaDrive. If you're looking for AI at your service department, here's the truth. Not all BDC AI is built to complete the job. A lot of solutions out there only handle a fraction of the calls and then transfer them back to your internal staff, defeating the purpose of you having AI in the first place. If you want good AI, as you're doing your research to find the perfect AI company, look for a company that has a high appointment conversion. At least 55% of your calls should be converted into an appointment. Look for a company that has a high first call resolution and isn't transferring all the calls back to you. You want less than a 25% transfer rate back to your dealership. And third, look for a company that has a high customer satisfaction, and the AI should be grading that for you. If you want all three of those things and you want to stop your search right now, contact AlphaDrive AI today, alphadriveai.com. Look forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Experience more. More sales, more profit, more efficiency. Experiences consumers want and results dealers need with superior automotive insights fueling AI and the only industry partner that gives you best-in-class connected solutions. Cox Automotive.
If you're heading to NADA, this is something you don't want to miss. The Fixed Ops Roundtable is bringing our full professional media team to the show, and for a limited time, we're offering a complimentary media package to our partners and industry leaders. That means professional lighting, crystal clear audio, high quality video production. We're capturing real conversations, real insights, and real stories from the people shaping fixed operations right from the show floor. No awkward setups, no DIY videos, just polished, broadcast-ready content you can actually use. This is your opportunity to walk away from NADA with powerful video assets for LinkedIn, social, sales conversations, and brand visibility. Spots are limited, cameras will be rolling. If you're at NADA, make sure your story is part of this.
Rush on back to the beat. Welcome to the Rock Revolution with the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Flying in on the Led Zeppelin is Don Andres in the Retail Service Panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Don Andres has been a big part of our events for the last several years. He's in Ohio. He has a company called Auto SCT Consulting and Training. Don is with us today with a team of very seasoned retail leaders in fixed operations. Don, I'm going to let you do the introductions. Welcome, and welcome everybody to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, Ted, thanks so much for inviting us to come and share some really good positive techniques. So yes, we are blessed with some veteran talent here in the room today. So let me begin with Ryan Brunk. Ryan is a fixed operations director for a collection of stores here in Mid-Ohio. And we have spent a lot of time together, and it's just a pleasure to have you on the call today. And along with Ryan is Chris Penrod. Chris Penrod, managing a number of manufacturers in a auto mall here in Central Ohio as well. And then we have Ted Ambrose, who is drive managing and also writing in a large volume Chevy store here in Columbus, Ohio, with a part of a large auto group, the Mark Wahlberg organization. So we're really blessed to have some great talent today on the show. And I think what we're going to do is maybe go around real quick and they can introduce themselves briefly and just talk a little bit about their background in the industry. And then we're going to jump into some really fun questions that I think will really be informative. And Ryan, let's start with you as well in your position.
Ryan Brunk, SVG Motors Auto Group. I've been in the automotive industry for 28 years, fairly new to a dealership setting. I've been a fixed ops director for the group for about 14 months, been with the group going on 2 years.
Awesome. Chris, how about you?
I've got about 20 years in the automotive industry. 10 of those years have been in the dealership setting. Prior to that, I was running individual franchise stores with Midas for about 5 to 6 years, and other franchises. But I've been with Norse for going on 8 years. So
awesome. That's great. And that independent background really has been a positive part of your growth in the management world, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ted, you're no rookie either.
No. Got Ted Ambrose, 30 years in the auto industry, 18 of them in the dealership setting, the remainder of that in retail with multiple companies, Firestone, Midas, Monroe. I've been doing it forever.
Yeah. And again, that independent background really helps when you enter into the dealership world. It's a different world, but at the same time, I think those are great tools that you learn in that industry. Well, listen, I think the biggest thing that maybe has changed as we've moved from 25 now into 26. I mean, we're into 26 now, aren't we? And so in that respect, I think maybe something that we all observed last year and is probably going to be a reality this year is the age of cars coming into your service drive. We've had sometimes a mix of 50-50 between warranty and retail customers, but now suddenly, from certainly my experience getting around the country and getting involved with analysis with dealerships, this higher age and mileage vehicle coming into the drive. Well, what's interesting about that, I think we can all agree, these cars need more things. They need more work done to them now that these customers are hanging on to them longer. I'm guessing you're seeing the same thing at your stores?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Ryan, let me come to you first, if you don't mind. You have a unique perspective in the sense that you get to all these different stores. And so you're dealing with not only the leadership in each store, the managers, the parts managers, but also the writers. You get right in there and you're involved with the writers as well, too. What are some of those challenges that maybe have changed in the last year and now as you enter 26 that you're focusing even more on when it comes to engaging these customers?
Well, one of the biggest things that we learned last year is digging in with these higher mileage vehicles. We have to make sure our staff is up to speed on what they need to do as far as what the inspections look like between vehicles with 15,000 miles or vehicles with 115,000 miles. That was a big challenge that we had to overcome. Our lube techs, they just weren't doing the inspections that needed to be done to identify some of the issues that are going to arise on some of these higher mileage vehicles. So it was pretty eye-opening to see the amount of work that we were missing due to the lack of a quality MPI.
Yeah, that quality MPI turns out to be a big part of the equation, doesn't it? I love that because we ask these entry-level employees now sometimes to be good at a multi-point inspection. And so the fact from a leadership side, you're recognizing that and now making those kind of real adjustments and maybe evaluating the repair orders that much better. Great job. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. The amount of recommendations and the amount of, my mind went blank.
just the amount of recommendations that
and service requests, I would imagine too.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. No, great observation. So Ted, are you seeing that you have a fairly large Chevy store, mm-hmm. and it's very diverse. You have economically challenged people coming into your area. You also have big fleet business coming in. So you get the full gamut at your store. But was this also something that you were recognizing in 25?
Yeah, we did. And so we're bringing on new lube technicians. We pair them with veteran technicians, and they help them grow in that aspect of inspecting what to look for based on time and mileage. And it's been a gateway to getting better growth from the MPI, and it's also allowing us to do a better service for our customer.
Right. You got more to discuss now, don't you? So we're going to talk about that in just a minute as well, too. I think that's incredibly important that your advisor staff transitions from just being that order taker to now, in fact, starting to have real engagement. So we'll talk about that. Chris, you are managing a couple of franchises at the same time. And again, different challenges because manufacturers have different requirements for maintenance as well. But the same thing, you're seeing the higher mileage vehicles now starting to come in and challenging your staff.
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed. This last year, we've had the same team for the last 3 years, oil changers, and haven't had any turnover. But yeah, I mean, it's about the pre-write, making the recommendations when they come in, and then the technician following through with that on the inspection side. I mean, yeah.
But I think that's a great point. Not only is volume increasing here in fixed operations with vehicles being kept longer, but now we probably need to prepare more, don't we?
Right.
I'm guessing that's one of the mantras, Ryan, that is constantly top of mind is, are we letting the day come to us, or are we in fact preparing for these customer arrivals?
No, you have to be prepared. I mean, if you want to be successful, the prior day pre-writes are a must. Spending time going through service history, looking at previous inspections, cautions, seeing what work was completed in between services. You definitely have to be prepared for the customer coming in, prior to their arrival.
That's such a big point. You're exactly right. And we see the results from a service advisor that's just scrambling around, losing his mind, and then one that probably is calm and much more prepared. Ted, you see that in your fairly large service drive. You probably get the whole gamut of service advisors who prepare, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell a difference between someone who prepares and doesn't prepare. I'm one of those that prepare. I mean, I've worked with you in the past, so I follow that mantra of being prepared always, expecting the day, and being ready for it, versus I have other people that just fly by the seat of their pants and just lack of organization and ill preparedness. And
Ted, can I ask a quick follow-up of you about approximately how many service advisors do you have there?
In my facility, we have 4.
You have 4. And Ryan, over in your location, Ryan?
We have the total of 15.
15. And Chris, I know you oversee several locations. What does that number look like there?
It's me and new assistant.
Okay.
Just started about a month ago.
Okay. All right.
So you get your hands full, Chris. So probably more than anything else, coming to the idea of you individually and training this new advisor as well too. How important is that preparation for you?
Oh, it has to be. I mean, I've been preaching every day, about the pre-write and making sure that you're set for the day. And if you don't, I mean, the whirlwind of the day will take over. And he's getting it. He understands it. He sees it. So we're just going to continue to fight that battle.
So let me stay with you, Chris, for just a moment. We've got 2 things that we typically are going to do as far as making recommendations for customers. We've got mileage-based services, things that the manufacturer has recommended that come due at certain mileage intervals. And then we've got the multi-point inspection.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for you individually, and how do you train this idea of approaching the mileage-based and then the found work on an MPI? Are those 2 different conversations?
They are. When the customer comes in for their set appointment, everything's already laid out, and what I recommended from either time before, new customer, 30, 60, 90, 120 intervals. We check the tires in the drive. We check the battery as well. And we're making those recommendations in the service drive. Along with, we have a quick check alignment machine through Hunter that was installed about 8 months ago, which has been a game changer. And then when we go back to the multi-point inspection with the technicians, they're making those recommendations that I had already recommended on the decline line if they decline. And then they're also putting together a list of things that they find. We just now rolled out, starting 2026, the video multi-point.
Nice.
Prior to that, we were doing multi-points on every car that came through. So yeah, it's been a game changer. I mean, we use a system called X-Time, which I know most dealerships use.
Super popular. Yeah,
it's been a game changer. It really has. So.
Yeah, boy, this is what I'm hearing. It doesn't necessarily take away from the engagement that you have with the client, but now you're looking at it together, looking at their car together. It's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ted, let me talk about that. Has video MPIs been introduced at the Wahlberg organization, and is that something that you're pretty consistent with as well?
We do. We use a UVI machine, so it's a 360-degree image of the vehicle, under, above, around. You get the opportunity to see those leaks before the technician does, show them to the customer before they even have a chance to go in the shop. And then you pair that with the video MPI, it completes the package. It gives the customer the opportunity to get a real good view of what the vehicle looks like.
Good point.
So let me stay with you for just a moment, Ted. Again, those mileage-based services, are you prepared enough that you can slow that process down enough that you are having real conversations with them during the write-up process to talk about those types of things, as opposed to just waiting for the tech to recommend?
Every car, every time, that mileage-based service from General Motors is talked about. I mean, we go through it with them, explain it in detail to them, why it's important, the benefits to it, and then we get it into the shop, and then the technician reinforces that benefit by explaining to them, hey, by doing your preventative maintenance, hey, we prevented this from occurring. So they get a really good view and experience from what we're doing in our culture.
That's awesome. And Ryan, I think you've and your company's definitely invested into UVI. I know you have them in a handful of stores. That also has been a game changer. So these third-party products really do allow a writer to be in a position to be successful. Would that be a good way to say it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have UVI as well, Ted, and it integrates well with Tekion or DMS. So it pulls that inspection directly into the repair order. It allows us to send links to the customers if they're not a waiter or they were a drop off, so they can view the pictures and footage from their phone. Especially if we have to disclose any type of repair work or leaks or uneven tire wear, whatever the case may be, that they can just pull it up and see it right from their phone. But I think Ted hit the nail on the head. As far as mileage-based services, the customers, you want to be able to tell the story why those services are needed. Just telling them it's due is not gonna sell the work.
And it's so powerful that you're creating yourself as an advisor, as more of an educator than selling, right? I know, Chris, you've had a lot of success over the years with selling mileage-based services. And Ted, I think you might be leading the Wahlberg organization in selling mileage-based services. Is those both of you guys have had that kind of confidence when you're speaking to the customer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so important to show them and explain to them why that mileage base is important. With today's vehicles, I mean, with higher tolerance engines, you get failures more frequently, and it helps stave it off. I mean, the customer really needs to see those things and why they're spending that money for that stuff. And so multiple times, I mean, customers have been aware, hey, I didn't really want to spend this today, but the way you've explained it, it's the ideal situation for me. So
isn't that funny?
It works well.
That's so powerful that you'd say it that way. And Chris, I think the same with you. Just simply saying it's due or do you want it is probably not going to give you the results. It is in fact that storytelling that really starts to build that relationship as a true advisor. Would that be a pretty accurate way to say that?
Yeah, I mean, it's about explaining the features and benefits of why we're doing, said brake fluid, throttle body service, and that's that sort of thing. And the beautiful part is once you do that, once you get the first go around, it's an easier sale the next time that they come in. I mean, it's literally you're just building your bench for future repairs. That's all it is.
Boy, that's a great way to say it, isn't it? Because once educated, you're not having to go back through and continue to tell stories. They're coming in sometimes saying, "Hey, I think I want that fuel service again. Car's starting to run a little sluggish," and so that certainly makes for a much easier situation, doesn't it? Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's talk about how are you guys handling declines? Declines. They naturally happen in our industry. We surprise customers with needed services on the MPI as well as mileage based, but we caught them at a time they didn't have the money. Let's go around, and I can start with you, Ryan, again, if you don't mind. Is there some strategies that you're talking to your staff about at the different stores about how to truly follow up with some of these declines?
Yeah, the first step in that is, when you're telling the story to the customer, making sure that they're okay with you reaching back out to follow up. It's put together a game plan to get them looped back in to get that work completed. So at the moment, we're taking decline services, putting them on a Google Calendar 30 days out. Just putting an RO number so they can the advisors already know what was discussed. They're familiar with the customer. So they're just tracking that 30 days out and making those follow-up calls.
So the writer themselves is calling the customer and seeing if they want to get started on some of that work.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a 15-person BDC, but we leave all the decline follow-up to the advisors themselves.
And you're seeing some success.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, we've seen some major success in a few of our stores. The stores that are embracing it, we are seeing results.
So that's interesting. And Chris, maybe you can allude to this as well, too. It is such a relationship-based business, isn't it? And though sending out a declined email is fine, but we also know they don't always open up those emails. So is there some strategies you're doing as well on the follow-up of some of these declines?
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of the same rule of thumb that you actually taught me back when you and I worked together. I mean, you got to call customers, 30 days after the appointment on those declined services. And I have a list on an Excel sheet that I track that I've been making phone calls to get customers back in the door. Either, offer them, hey, you come in today, we'll do this service this time. And then maybe the next time we'll hit that other one up that we need to be done.
I love that. So something I have always said over the years, you just kind of chip away at that list, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a little bit of a different question for you, Ted. Obviously, yes, we have to follow up with these declines. But one of the biggest things that challenges a lot of writers I see as I travel the country is sometimes they look at these large MPIs with a number of things listed on them, and they get intimidated by the amount that is on the MPI. And they find themselves not mentioning the tires because that was another $1,500. And they're not mentioning some of these things because they just aren't that important. As a rule of thumb, I don't think that's an approach that you've taken over the years. You tell the customer everything, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. I mean, I don't make their buying decision. I let them make their buying decision. It's important for them they know their budget, and I don't. So with that being said, hey, if it needs tires, it needs tires. I mean, we make these recommendations, and if they decline it, we reach back out too. I mean, we market through couponing and say, hey, here's an opportunity to get you back in here for what you missed. We also make those phone calls and follow up. But again, in our industry, there's a lot of people who are afraid to ask. I find that to be the biggest key factor. And that failure to inform is lost opportunity. So without making those recommendations and without following through on your decline work and letting them make the decisions, I think that's a big cause of why some service departments fail. In our case, we're going after that low hanging fruit. We're grabbing it and we're talking about it.
And Ted, are you getting them up to speed during write-up that multi-point inspection video is going to happen today, and they will be seeing that? Is that something that's important?
Absolutely. And in fact, through the years, I've been with this dealership 7 years. Through the years, with constant conversation, they're looking for it. They want that inspection. They want to know the health of the vehicle. It's important for them to, for future purchases, to know where they're going and what to be prepared for.
And I think that's pretty important. I mean, Chris, you're an all-encompassing role, right? You're managing these collection of technicians from different manufacturers. How challenging is it sometimes to make sure that MPI gets done?
The first month or two when we started really hitting the head, trying to get the multi-point done, it was a challenge. But the second that they saw that there's an actual reward for it,
yes,
every time. I mean, they're sending pictures. They're solidifying what they're trying to sell, and the customers, they just eat it up. They absolutely love it.
Yes.
They really do. So.
I love it. Ryan, that's the big challenge for you as well, isn't it? It's within each store, that manager making sure those technicians are rewarded with that same vehicle if it comes back in after the MPI is done. It's been a month, and now they're coming back in to get the work done. You want that back to that same technician to prove that his efforts were still rewarding him with that additional work.
Absolutely. Yes. That's just going to drive the buy-in and help them understand what the value truly is in doing that, along with the customers buying into it. We need the advisors and the techs too as well. So yeah, it's imperative that work goes back to the technician that did the initial inspection.
Would I be fair to say in all three of you guys as stores, you're not just relying on recalls and warranty work to come in. You're creating, through these customers coming back in with sold work, you're creating RO counts in your stores. And I'm guessing you're going to be taking full advantage of that in 26, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
There's something special about sold work driving in the door, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Makes our jobs easier, for sure.
Yeah, that is great. That is outstanding. What, Ryan, you're asked to forecast 2026. You're into 2026 now. We're practically a month into it. Are those conversations about not relying on the outside roadblocks and all the outside noise not determining the success of your stores?
Sorry, I really don't understand the question. You lost me.
Yeah, I guess
I'm sorry.
Let me rephrase it. It's so easy with a lot of outside and noise is going in the industry of car sales being down, of used car reconditioning not necessarily being as fruitful as it was in the past with all the pressures of the economy. That's not an excuse to grow your service departments, I believe, at your stores. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely not. No, and that's, that it all ties back into what we just discussed today. The quality MPI, having that discussion with the customer, being able to tell the story, following up on declines, setting that plan to loop the vehicles back in. That's what's going to drive our business forward. From a fixed side or a service side, we can't rely on internal work or warranty work or, we're getting plenty of appointments, creating plenty of CPROs. It's our job to continue to manufacture more and grow the service drive.
Yeah, love it. Gentlemen, would it be fair to say that the fortune is in the follow-up and that you are definitely in the follow-up business? And isn't it amazing and great how all these new tools that we've had in the last couple of years, you mentioned the video inspections, X-Time, UVI, doing that MRI, if you will, of the vehicle. Customers now expect it, right? Imagine if we took it away. The customers like the transparency, and you're actually helping them make a decision with these pictures and videos. So congratulations to all of you. I know this is going to be an amazing year, 2026. And congratulations to you on all the success. Now, I know that you are not here by accident. You know Don Andres because he's actually been working with your dealerships. Don, tell me about that. You actually go into dealerships and help them boots on the ground in increasing these best practices, if you will.
Yeah, it's been a great transition from being in the retail world now to having my own company and doing this, because you're right. You get asked to go in and do a 2-day analysis with the company, and invariably you start to see this lack of engagement. And the minute you start to talk about these techniques, people embrace them. Writers, it makes sense. It's not hard. I think you guys can agree. Once you're into that routine of a pre-work order and that, it becomes an easier way to approach the day and not the chaoticness. So yeah, I've enjoyed the ability to go around the country, talk about some of these things, and know that they're all highly productive techniques. And I think you guys are living proof of that. Ted, I think you're considered the top service writer in the Wahlberg organization. Am I speaking out of turn?
No, you're not. I am one of the top producers, and it's based on the inspection. I mean,
and how many service advisors in the Wahlberg organization?
67.
Okay. So these techniques work and actually give you the results. Chris, that leadership that you've had for the last 8 years at that store, and that stability at those stores, which they didn't necessarily have prior to you coming in, is a real tribute to your techniques being consistent. Would that be right?
Absolutely. I mean, consistency is everything. The second that you don't do the same thing you did prior, it discredits everything that you worked for. So you have to be consistent.
Wow. That's a great way to say it. That's a great way to say it. And Ryan, the learning curve in the world of fixed operations, it's impressive what you've accomplished in a short amount of time, but you have a great understanding of the really 1 or 2 really important things that need to get done every day. Would that be right?
Yes, yeah, and just touching on what Chris said about having retention, from a customer perspective as well. If they're coming in every 6 months and they're having to speak to a new advisor or see unfamiliar faces, they're starting over from square one. So that retention side, as far as customer familiarity and them being comfortable as well, I think that's a key point that Chris was making.
Well, these are some real leaders, Ted, and thank you for inviting us to spend some time just talking about success.
Oh, I have enjoyed this, Don. Chris, Ryan, and Ted, we get to do this, Don and I, at the Fixed Ops Roundtable 4 times a year. I'd like to invite you all back. We're going to have another event in May, and it's amazing how much in our industry it changes every few months. So I'd love to have you come back with Don and, take this up a couple notches and tell us what you're experiencing as we get into the spring market. And congratulations to Ted Ambrose, Chris Penrod, Ryan Brunk for being here. For more information, everybody, you can reach out to Don Andres on the web. You see in the scroll down below. You can reach him on his website. He's super active on social media. Don, I love the videos and posts. Thank you. Congratulations on all you're doing. And everybody, great success ahead in 2026. And thank you for all you do for the industry.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Everybody, Don Andres and the retail panel here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
"98% of customer experience is how well or how poorly you communicate." Well, how come my software partners spend 98% of their development on workflows? What if they spent 100% of their time on workflows and we spent 100% of our time on communication? Then we'd be able to truly create transformative experiences for customers, and that's what True Video does.
Introducing Warranty Uplift, powered by Fixed Ops Intel and brought to you by Wooden Automotive Consultants. Warranty uplifts are complex and mistakes cost time and money. Fixed Ops Intel uses the latest technology to analyze your dealership's service data to ensure maximum reimbursement rates while accelerating and simplifying the process. Trusted by single-point stores to the largest dealer groups, Wooden Automotive Consultants pioneered Warranty Uplift nearly 30 years ago and has thousands of satisfied clients from Maine to Hawaii and representing every major vehicle manufacturer. Fixed Ops Intel, delivering smarter service for your dealership.
We've got your all-access path to integrity cost consulting in our next segment with Steve Thompson.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Integrity Cost Consulting panel. And Ted, most fixed ops leaders believe expenses are under control because invoices are paid on time and budgets are hit, and nothing really looks strange on the books. But what we see in practice is different, and expenses are approved but not necessarily validated.
Sarah, you are right. Steve Thompson has opened our eyes here at the Roundtable to all the ins and outs. He's with Integrity Cost Consulting. Steve, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Yeah, Ted and Sarah, thank you so much for inviting me back.
Well, here we are at the end of January. We're already about a month into 2026. And Sarah and I want to ask you some questions that our fixed ops leaders need to be asking of their CFOs and controllers, especially as we come to the end of the month, Steve, and maybe what some of those answers usually reveal, because there's a lot of things hidden in there. So I'm hoping you could help us with that. And if you're okay with that topic, let's take it away. So my first question, Steve Thompson, is what about vendors? Which vendors that haven't been benchmarked, let's say in 3+ years, what should we be keeping our eyes on there in terms of costs?
Yeah, I think particular vendors, I think it's some of the non-core services, right? Non-core vendors, your waste disposal, uniforms, telecom, areas like that where it's not really addressed. It's not really a problem every day. I mean, I think there might be some service issues, but I think those three areas typically get ignored primarily because, it takes a lot of time. It takes some data, you got to be pulled away from what you're, the 40 other things that you're working on for the day. And so I think those areas get overlooked. I think Sarah mentioned it. These get paid on time. They look reasonable. They matched last month. They look, if it looks right, it gets paid.
And you've made a good point in the past, just dovetailing what you just said, that if expenses are approved, that doesn't mean that they're validated, like you just said. And if you want to elaborate just a little bit more on that, because I think that's a real important point as we start the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations and what we've seen, I'm just not making this up. This is what we've seen over the last, 12, 14 years, is that a lot of these things are on auto pay. Here's the invoice, it gets paid, it gets signed off on, maybe it goes through one or two people, but it gets signed off on, it looks reasonable, and then it just gets paid, and then next month, the same thing, right? No one's really validating, like you said, verifying these charges against the contracted terms and conditions. And again, it takes time to do that. And another thing that we find, and maybe you might ask this later, but now that I'm talking, it's a lot of this information, sometimes we're being billed for things that are not even on the contract, right? These are non-negotiated contracted items or non-negotiated items. And so unless you're taking the invoice, comparing it to the contract, you're not really going to see the discrepancy. And then this is just, it might be simple for one store, but you look at multiple places with multiple rooftops, it is very difficult to do that. It's very difficult, time consuming to match all of them because more than likely they're all different, right? You're getting an invoice at one store, one thing, and another and something else at a different store. So it's
And even if you have a master service agreement that covers all of these rooftops and all these storage locations, it's rarely do the vendors in these areas, in these non-core areas, do they bill the same across the entire organization.
And Sarah, I'm thinking, the person who approved the contract initially, okay, may no longer be around, okay, and the person now who's, making sure that they get paid every month is just kind of following through without having all the detail from the beginning.
You're so right, Ted, and really, Steve, I'm thinking about what you mentioned when it comes to some of these, non-core vendors like waste and uniforms. This is a reality that it's a necessity in the service department. It's a necessity to keep our business operations running, but for our service directors and controllers and our dealership leadership that's listening today, where do rates in your experience auto increase without that reapproval?
Yeah. A lot of this happens in these, we keep hitting on the uniform and laundry vendors, but a lot of times that's what happens. There's built-in escalators, and if you don't catch it, if you don't have better, have someone looking at your contracts to rewrite them so they're more favorable to you, you're going to see these increases that just happen. You're supposed to be locked in for maybe 12 months, no price increase for 12 months, but time and time again, we see it happens twice during the year. There's increases. So someone needs to be paying attention. These are very subtle, it could be 2, 3, 4%, but again, it doesn't show up in any variance analysis, right? It's just not big enough as you roll everything up into higher categories. So it really needs to be, people need to drill down a little bit further to see that profit leakage. It really is. That's what it is. It's really leaking, and no one really knows about it.
And Steve, do you see this, being more when situations like Ted and I are seeing? There's a lot of dealerships that are growing. For example, their mobile fleet, so they're bringing in more technicians, they're bringing in more components to their operation, and are things like that, like bringing on more staff. Does that trigger some of these, places where maybe you have a 12-month agreement, but now the contract is, having some discrepancies 6 months in?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, and I even try to partner with M&A folks because these there's all these acquisitions, the mergers, that sort of thing. I mean, think about that. So you're merging, you're acquiring rooftops, and now all of a sudden now you have maybe 1 or 2 vendors in laundry. Now you have a third, a fourth, right? So it's a great time, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's a great opportunity for whether you're before you sell or after you purchase to really look at these items and see if there's opportunity. I mean, it's very likely you're going to see some opportunity to reduce cost, increase profit. So whether you're selling and you want to hire multiple, or you're buying and you want to, quick ROI, I think it's great for those who are buying and or selling to look at these items.
Makes a lot of sense. Steve, you mentioned contract validation. Everybody's busy. We don't have a lot of time. And validating the contract requires some time. What invoices typically, because the inner workings in a dealership, what invoices bypass that validation of contract? I'm thinking a lot.
Yeah. Again, we'll go back to the waste disposal, the trash, recycling, the laundry, uniforms, the floor mats, the towels that we're using in the shop and on the mobile vans. All those areas get, from our experience, they get bypassed. Not everyone, right? But for a large majority, these are being bypassed and just being overlooked. Because like you said, they're a necessity. We need these things. We need these services. Right? We have to continue to move on. We have bigger problems. We're doing one thing I like to say is they're doing a lot of these video inspections, right? It's like Integrity Consulting can almost do an inspection of your P&L, right? So I don't know. It's just something that I've been trying to relate to the automotive field so they can kind of understand what we're trying to do and how we're different. and how we approach this cost verification. I don't think anyone's going to be interested in seeing this a video like that, but you know that thing's pretty cool, right? It's not very exciting.
But Steve, I know controllers out there who would be thrilled to death to have this, because again, I mean, these expenses, they add up. It might be, you know, a few $100s here, a few $100s there on a monthly invoice. But then you look at it on an annual, you know, these annual agreements, and those dollars adds up. I mean, that could be the difference between another porter that you have in your service lane that's helping to greet your customers and improve the experience, or another, you know, other innovations or marketing efforts that you could be doing with those dollars that you have set aside in your budget. So, you know, in terms of fixed operations specifically, what percentage do you see of fixed ops expenses are passively approved?
You know, it's a tough question, only because I can't say all, you know, I think for the areas, these non-core expenses, I think they're getting past, you know, I think a lot of those are not getting analyzed, verified. I can't say all of them, because obviously everyone's looking at, you know, parts, they're looking at labor.
Yes.
You know, right. They're buying, you know, the cars that they're buying. So those things are being scrutinized, but some of these service-based expenses, you know, like the waste, the telecom, the uniforms, they're not really being, I don't think, from our experience, they're not being analyzed, verified in the manner that they should. And going back to what you said, Sarah, yeah, a couple $100s here and there. What we found is, on average, a $25,000 to $50,000 savings or increased profit per rooftop per year. So again, is that a lot of money for somebody? I don't know. It depends, right? If you have 20, the more rooftops, the more, because it's going to be very similar problem across rooftops. And so, you know, if you have 10 rooftops, 20, you can multiply that out, and really it becomes a very big number. And like
Steve, this is not, you know, like intentional, let's say a fraudulent thing that's happening. These are just inflated expenses, okay, that have moved along. No one's, you know, following what the original agreement was. And some of those can spike, you know, even not long after the agreement is signed. And,
right.
You know, someone's got to be aware of this. And let's face it, most fixed ops and service managers, the people watching this, people in retail, they get paid on the bottom line. They get paid on what those expenses are and holding those down.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't believe this is all done. This is not done fraudulently. It's inherent. There's inherent problems with these vendors in these areas, because they've gotten so big. You know, they've acquired, they've grown, and they don't have the systems in place. We had one vendor mention to us, he goes, do you know how hard it is to keep track of 2,700 clients? Like, well, isn't this automated? Like your price increases? Like, no, we have to go do it manually. So, and that was just one southeast region of Florida. I mean, that's just 2,700, you know, the clients there. So you magnify that across the country, some of these national vendors, and they just don't have, you know, they're not looking for ways to reduce their revenue, right? So they're not really paying attention to these things either. They're hoping the burden of proof is on the customer, and that's what we help relieve that burden.
And I've seen you in some of your travels. You actually travel to dealerships. You actually go in store and you help them identify. And there are things you look for as well. What are some of the things that, you know, you see that we may not be aware of, having been in the dealership for a while, but things that become apparent to you very early, Steve Thompson, when you visit a dealership, that you typically call to their attention?
Yeah, I think these areas where, you know, we're looking at, and a lot of times we don't have to be on site. We can be. I mean, it's nice to meet face to face, but we don't have to. We can do most of our work, all of our work really remotely. But, you know, these areas where you start talking about uniforms, and we've talked to other people before, Sean. People know that there's problems like service issues or, you know, they know something's going on. They just can't quantify that, or, you know, the problem in dollars. They just know there's a problem. And it's one of those things, it's like, it's on their to-do list, but it's not going to be something that they necessarily get to because it does take a lot of time. And a lot of these invoices, the uniform invoices, they're weekly. So you have 20 rooftops, 20 invoices every week.
Wow.
Over a month, you have 80, right? 80 plus. It's like a snowball. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And one thing that what we've noticed is that many organizations are, whether it's dealer group or someone else, they think they have to wait until the end of the contract with their vendor to do anything. It's like, no, you can do something. You can do something now. I mean, obviously, you might not be able to switch from your current vendor, but you can get a better contract, and then have us or someone else like us, procure a new contract, benchmark your rates, and then monitor it going forward. So they don't have to worry about it. It's peace of mind to a automotive group. I really do. I think it is. It's, I had one rooftop, the general manager of one rooftop, she mentioned to me, this is small potatoes. It's like, well, yeah, but you have 23 rooftops. So yeah, it's for you, it might be small potatoes, right? But for 20 times 23 really is not. Like Sarah mentioned, what else can you do with that money? There's got to be something else you can do with that money. It's better than, use it internally rather than just give it away.
Right. And as Ted said, there's a lot of bonuses that are tied up in how much, gross profit the dealership retains. So this is not only impacting your store and your employees, but it's impacting the revenue that long-term your store is able to generate.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, we've talked about this before. It's like, it doesn't even cost them anything to work with us. Like, we're going to assume we assume all the risk. If we don't find anything, then, you don't owe us anything. But if we find something, we'll share in it. We're not trying to disrupt operations or change vendors or take away someone's job. It's like, we're just trying to complement what you already have in place, right? The controller, like you mentioned, Ted, controller, CFO, they don't have time for this. We can be their back office group for them, right? It's a group of experts. So, yeah.
Now, something you did recently that really got my attention is you created a calculator where a dealer or a manager can go in, enter some of their numbers, and pull out what will come on the other side in terms of potential cost savings. Tell us about that. And I know that dealers, of course, can reach out to you remotely. And will you be next week in Las Vegas at NADA showing dealers some of the savings that they can get as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up again. So we created a profit calculator. I have a QR code. I'll have it at NADA to, you can scan it and quickly in 60 seconds, assuming you know your numbers, you need 4 different numbers, annual spend in 4 different areas, the telecom, waste, laundry, and utilities. And even if you don't have the exact numbers, just put approximate numbers in there. And it will kick out, like you said, within 60 seconds, you just type it in. And from 60 seconds, you'll know the range of possibility, right? We're not going to know until we get into your specific situation, see your documents, your invoices, your contracts. But it'll give you a range based on all of our years of experience. This is what is realistic, right? Low end to high end. We don't sugarcoat it, and I always say it could be 0. There's a chance it could be 0 for any particular category. But I'll let you know. We'll let you know because we're not going to waste our time. We don't get paid unless we help you. So, we're not going to waste our time, and we don't want to waste your time either.
And this will give a dealer peace of mind as well. Next week, Las Vegas NADA show. Sarah Van Tyne and Ted Ings will be there. Fixed Ops Roundtable will have a big presence in the West Hall. Steve Thompson will be there. He'll be with us and easy to find. And we'll be talking about how dealers can save money potentially, looking at that profit calculator. We have the QR code on screen with us now. Steve, for those in the audience who are going to NADA, can they make appointments with you? Can they reach out? And for those who are not going, what's the best way for them to reach you? I see an email scrolling and a phone number.
Yeah. Email, phone number, call, text, reach out to me at LinkedIn, direct message. Those are probably the easiest ways. But yeah, I answer my texts. You and I, Ted, we'll sometimes we text early in the morning, late at night when something's going on, right? I might bug you at late at night, but yeah, I'm very responsive to my texts and emails. So, and even LinkedIn. So it's one of those 3 areas, one of those 3 methods is the best.
And Sarah, I don't know of anybody else who provides this resource for the automotive dealer community the way that Steve Thompson at Integrity Cost Consulting does.
You're so right, Ted. And Steve, this is so valuable for dealerships that are listening, and a lot of opportunity to continue to, keep their eye on spending and use those dollars for something more meaningful in their organization.
No, I agree, 100%. Yes, thank you so much. I think it's very. I mean, I'm passionate about it. I'm trying to get other people passionate about it. Right.
All right. If you're coming to NADA next week, everybody, put Steve Thompson on your short list. Make sure you visit with Steve. Reach out, make an appointment, or just come look for Sarah and I in the West Hall, and you won't be able to miss the stage we've got. And Steve, thank you for all you do for the industry at Integrity Cost Consulting, and let's continue the conversation. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. Thanks, Sarah.
Steve Thompson, everybody, president of Integrity Cost Consulting. You can reach them on the web. Down below, you see the email for Steve scrolling. Also, a phone number. You can reach out to him directly, and we'll see him next week at NADA. Everybody, Steve Thompson, Integrity Cost Consulting, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Go!
Scanner has landed. A breakthrough in automated appraisal that changes everything. Get your first look at NADA.
There are a lot of competitors out there. What we're looking for, though, is the total package.
CDK is a proven solution. The support is ongoing, the development is ongoing, and for us, there is no other solution.
I really believe they know our business, they know the automotive space, and more they continue to be able to help us use the system the way we want to do business.
That relationship is really what this is all about. You don't have a relationship with software, you have a relationship with the individuals behind the software. That's what we're really comfortable with CDK.
Get a look behind the scenes and unlock insights from every conversation with Siro.ai.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Back to St. Augustine, Florida we go. Ed Roberts, the COO of Bozard Ford Lincoln, is with us. We've been examining a lot of technology in the last year. Gavin Janis from Siro.ai is with us as well to talk about in-person conversational intelligence and how that applies to the fixed ops world. Gavin and Ed, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. Happy to be here.
Ed, you and I have come upon some really interesting developments in helping advisors and teammates with coaching tools, and what Gavin does is squarely in the middle of all that.
Well, what Gavin does, we look at technology as something to help us be more efficient. And then when you have a piece of technology that helps us be more efficient, it helps us be more compliant, it helps with training elements, it just continues to raise the level of what we can do with our team and our people.
Gavin, if you would, take us back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about Siro.ai and bring our audience up to speed for those who may not have heard yet it's becoming embedded throughout our lives and everything we do.
Yeah. So, I joined Siro as employee 7, been here since basically the ground floor. And Siro's been around for 5 years. And what it is, it's a mobile application that captures in-person, face-to-face selling conversations. And then we analyze those. And really what that looks like, it can be a variety of things. We'll summarize the conversation. We work with dealers, like, we would load in the recommended process for a service advisor and then score against that. We can tell you if service advisors are remembering to tell the customer that they're going to be checking for recalls or when they presented their menu, whatever it may be. We'll score those conversations. And to Ed's point, make it really efficient to understand if you've got a lower performing service advisor, what's driving that. Is it that they struggle with objections? Is it that they struggle with closing, building rapport? We take all of those recordings, score them individually, and then, compile those to give you big picture insights. So you as a dealer, fixed ops director, service manager, you understand where you should be spending time training the team as well as each individual service advisor.
And Ed, for a lot of dealers and GMs who maybe have come up through the sales ranks, to have this scoring mechanism and to know what to look for and what to ask for, I think that's a real strong executive summary, if you will, of what's happening in my fixed operations.
Well, we always refer back and go back and say, okay, if we listen to phone calls, we know that there's some opportunity there. And there's opportunity there because that's something for you to play back and say, okay, here's where we missed it. Here's what we should have done. Well, it's not just on phone calls. It's with everything we do. It's all customer facing transactions. And when you can take that data and pull it together, create a report, you can really create tailored training programs or tailored compliance programs to elevate our game with our teams. And we could offer them advice. Well, hey, if we'd have done this, if we'd have built more value here, this is a compliance element, whatever it may be, it gives us the tools to be able to go that back and do that rather than wait until an attorney knocks on our door and says, hey, you said this, but and I think every dealer out there fears that at some point. So from a compliance standpoint, when we can find something that helps us be more compliant, then we take more of the risk out of running these stores.
And Gavin, for a dealership like Ed's, I mean, he's I want to say a single point with Ford and Lincoln, but he's a big single point store, and he's got a lot of people and a lot of advisors and a lot of moving parts to keep tabs on, Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, I'd love to know how many in-person conversations you guys have in a year. It's probably millions. And it's hard to understand what is said in all of those. And to the compliance point, right? We've worked with dealers and they've got key phrases that they want to know if they're ever discussed. They get sent a weekly email report with all the recordings attached where this was said. So yeah, especially like just honing in on specifically the compliance related side of things, we can plug in all the key phrases you want to track. And across all those million conversations, the small percentage where those may happen, we can quickly identify those, nip those things in the bud before they become a bigger problem. And that's really the idea behind why we don't just record, we also analyze, because we do know if you just have millions of recordings, it's hard to go through all of those. So we pull out all the key insights to make it much more efficient.
And Gavin, Siro, you're using this or helping dealers use this as a coaching tool. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's really smart.
Yeah, so I'd actually love to ask Ed, because I think this will actually help me better even explain it. Ed, I guess like in your world, like what would you say is one or two key soft skills or something that makes just a great service advisor compared to the ones that might be lacking with those lower performers? Like what is that 1 to 2, 3 key things that you think are making those people better compared to the rest?
It's the ability to build and create rapport instantaneously. Some people can do it over time, but to be able to do it instantaneously, that builds trust. And those are things, it's a good thing you brought that up, because those are things that you can highlight here. Well, this person took something from their vehicle, not necessarily took something from their vehicle, but seen something in their vehicle or on their vehicle and was able to make a connection. And those are the things. Don't just go right into what this is. You got to make the connection. People still want to do business with people. And so the number one thing that you see with advisors is they want to go straight for whatever the thing is, rather than building the rapport and making a connection that makes the rest of it easier.
Okay, that is fantastic you said that, because I was just working with a service advisor maybe a month back, and we looked at one of his recordings, and his building rapport is one of the things that we score. He scored a 40%. And we looked at it. The customer had come in, their car was super dusty. It was probably obvious they just came back from some trip. The service advisor, checks them in. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, why is your car so dirty? Customer starts rambling on about this vacation that they just did up in, I think it was like a mountain trip or something like that. Customer tells the story, and the service advisor goes, okay, great. So here's what and just didn't ask. And basically the recommendation at Siro was, we would recommend have the customer, was the family with you? How long were you there? Build a little bit more rapport. And that service advisor was just like blown away. He's like, oh my God, I totally realized if I had done that, that customer probably would have liked me more. And then when I was asking for money 5 to 10 minutes later, it probably would have gone a lot better because they would have liked me, would have built the trust. So that's exactly that. And that's why, that's something that we score, because we do know if you build rapport, you get people to like you. Deals just seem to happen a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
Gavin, what about things on the subject of building rapport, of like using the customer's name? Did the advisor use the customer's name at some point in the conversation? Is Siro able to track things like that?
Totally. That's actually one of the many things that goes into the building rapport score is, do you repeatedly use the customer's name? Did you actually use a professional greeting like, hey, I'm blank with blank. How are you? Nice to meet you. Or did you just go right into it? There's so many things that we track, but to that point, using the customer's name, we know is very impactful to building that relationship. And that is one of the many things that we would score in that building rapport.
Ed, I'm thinking also for an advisor, Gavin mentioned the greeting process, early on, documenting and confirming the primary concern, the reason why the customer is here, and not going off into other things until we cover that first. I would imagine that would also be something we'd want to document and make sure advisors are doing.
And repeat it back to them. It's no different than their name. People want to hear their name. They love to hear their name. And so you repeat it back to them. And as a lot of the audience knows, I'm a stickler about a name tag here, because if we're going to use a customer's name, they need to be able to use ours as well. And they don't need to keep asking. There's too many things going on for them to remember your name when you're first making that connection. So you got to take those friction points out and then leverage them. Use their name, repeat back their issues. As you said, Gavin, dive a little deeper, because that guy became a little bit robotic. He's like, he created it, seen something, created a conversation, and then didn't go anywhere with it, because he was going right back into work. And the work element goes so much faster when you slow it down in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, and one thing we do is we give dealers the ability, it's called Ask Siro cross-recording insights. So you can ask questions across all recordings. And the service manager, we were honing in on Miguel. He was lower performing. We pulled in, hey, what is Miguel's strength? What is his weakness? His strength, he actually was crushing the greeting side of things. He was doing everything we just discussed. But then when they got into like what the customer was there for, he did zero deep diving into like using any form of discovery questions. Customer would come in, the engine's making a noise. And he would just basically blow right by that instead of, tell me more. When does it do that? Does it happen when you reach a certain speed? Is it going uphill, downhill? All the different questions you can ask to, one, make sure that you understood the customer so they feel heard, while also helping them understand that this is a problem and that this is not going to go away unless you get this thing solved, whether it's today or in the coming, soon services.
Yep.
Gavin, what about in terms of real time, for Ed? He's got a lot of customer interactions happening throughout the day. When would we know how our people are doing? How does Siro help management hold people accountable and, again, utilize these coaching tools? And when do we get that back to the actual advisor who is, on the front lines?
Yeah. So it happens in two ways. Recordings right now, they upload within about 5 to 10 minutes. We're actually working to have this thing happen in live time while it's recording. But right now it's about 5 to 10 minutes after the conversation's done. One thing is service advisors, they actually like this. They can go back in and review their scores. They can ask the AI, how could I have better handled this objection? What could I have done better next time? Things like that. So they can get their own feedback from the AI, which is trained on the dealership's recommended best practices, basically instantaneously. Then in Ed's shoes, there's really two ways you can do it. You can either go into the dashboards at any point in the day. You'll see recordings coming in. Okay, that one got a 40 out of 100. What happened? Let's dive in. But then we also send a daily and weekly email digest highlighting all the things that you would want to know as a dealer. Here's the strength across the team. Here's the weakness across the team. Here's what each individual should be working on. And that comes in, it looks a little bit different in the daily versus weekly digest, but that's coming into your email. So at the end of the day, you got 5 minutes and you want to see what's wrong with the service advisor team if they're underperforming. Well, it'll tell you what happened in that day, and you can quickly get in, leave those coaching comments. And then hopefully the next day they start to perform a little bit better.
Ed, I could see you coaching this or utilizing this in the morning huddle, okay, with the advisors before the proverbial door rolls open. I know you don't have a door, okay? It's Florida, okay, St. Augustine, Ed. But you got beautiful weather there. But, not only as a group, but individually, Ed, as well.
So there's a couple things there that I want the audience to make sure that they get is the scoring system of it. So you can pick out some good ones and you can pick out some ones that have opportunity. Obviously, the opportunity ones are the ones you want to have more of a one-on-one with, and it's your segue into creating that one-on-one. Then the good ones are the ones that you build off of and say, hey, we need more of these. But not only is it that element of a scoring system and a recap, but it's also a great review tool and a refreshment tool, because you can go back and look and say, okay, well, I talked to this guy last week and maybe not remember what his dog's name is or whatever else. There's those elements that you could pick up on. Maybe you didn't make the note that you thought you did or whatever else, and you got the element to come back to. So it just, AI is a big buzzword or buzz letters that we're all talking of. Yeah. But when it actually brings so many different elements of value, then it's instrumental to make it a key part of what we do.
Well, I really liked what you said there, Ed. It's, if you see a low score, that's when you use that in a one-on-one setting. But when you see someone just absolutely crushing it and you do introduce that to a team training, it reinforces everything that you guys preach in your trainings, that it works. You show that thing live. It's not only are you talking about it in a team training, it's like, guys, look at Ed here. He ran through the process perfectly. Look how well this deal went. Customers happy. The deal was closed. Everyone's happy in the conversation. And that's when you use the good ones in a team setting. And then those one-on-ones is when you pull up those coaching moments. So you're not putting anybody on blast in front of the entire team. And we have seen actually some service advisors, hey, I want you to play this one in front of the team. I really struggled here and I want to hear what the team had for feedback. But the recommendation, poor recording, one-on-one training, great one, play it in front of the team, reinforce what we, preach works here.
Absolutely.
Gavin, how do you, from my perspective, how do you set this up? Because Bozard Ford Lincoln is very different than Tully's dealerships at the Nilo Company, very different than Sean Kingry's Kaiser Automotive Group. How do you give the dealer, and make this work for them in their particular circumstance?
Totally. So we've worked with enough now where when we send our general best practices to a dealer for review, it's at the point where they're just making tweaks to the verbiage. A lot of there's similarities and then there's differences. So there's an intake form that we send to the managers typically within a dealership, and it takes them about 30 to 60 minutes to fill it out. After that, we load that into the system. Then we turn Siro on for 2 weeks. We start reviewing recordings, seeing the scores, seeing the feedback. And there's about 2 weeks of iteration after the fact. We realize, okay, we've cranked up the objection scoring a little too intense. The guys are actually doing pretty good and it's grading a little too aggressively. And that typically happens over the first 2 weeks. So in short, it's a 30 to 60 intake form that the dealer has to fill out for each department they use it in. And then from there, we iterate over the first 2 weeks to make sure it's fine-tuned and tweaked to fit what the dealer actually expects the scoring system to be doing.
Ed, you and I use this kind of technology in our personal lives as well.
Absolutely. And it's like having an assistant right there beside you, grading you on the things that you can improve on, the things that we didn't touch, all the elements. It's huge when it comes to efficiency and an element to go back for a refresher. I mean, there's just all the stuff we've talked about. Yes, I couldn't imagine living life without it now.
And that's the point, Gavin. Once a dealership starts using this, they can't imagine life without it because it's really helpful. It helps them get better, and it helps them hone their skills and be on top of their game.
Exactly. And that's really the thing, right? This is not a magic switch. You don't turn it on and it fixes everything in a month. But by about that 90-day threshold is when we start seeing that performance start to, move 2, 4, 5, 6, 8%. And then by that 6-month mark, there's a new standard that's in place, and a dealership's typically performing 8 to 10% better than they were before using Siro. So it doesn't happen overnight. This is almost like a gym membership in a way, is kind of how we describe it. You got to go to the gym to get strong. Same with Siro. You got to go into Siro to get better. It's one of those things you don't know what you don't know until you turn that flashlight on, and this turns that flashlight on.
Some of the best dealers in the country and best dealer groups use Siro.ai. Gavin Janis with us here today with Ed Roberts at Bozard Ford Lincoln. This is all about in-person conversational intelligence and the technology that's helping dealerships throughout the country. Gavin, dealers are making their plans now for 2026. I would imagine this is one of the things that we're going to be hearing a lot about. How do dealers reach out to you if they have questions? How do they take the next step? Also, early in the year, are you going to be at NADA? Tell us more.
Yeah, we'll be at NADA. Got a big booth. We're going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff there, of course. And we'd love to see you at our booth there. Maybe we can, if you want to learn more about it ahead of NADA, I'd recommend you can simply just search our website, Siro.ai, hit book a demo. It's a 2-minute process, and you'll find time with me there. Or, Ted will, have my cell phone number and email attached to this as well. Feel free to text me, email me, whatever's easiest there. But simply put, go to our website, hit book a demo, take it 2 minutes. We'll find some time from there.
I see Gavin at Siro.ai and at 916. That's your cell phone?
You got it.
All right. There we go. Ed, I'll give you the last word.
Hey, there's opportunity for all of us to get better with everything we do. And when we think that we've nailed something, all you have to do is go pay attention to it. And then when you have tools to pay attention for you, review those tools and utilize them. And that's what this does for us. It gives us the opportunity to make so many things so much better, efficient, compliant, training tools. There's so many elements that comes from it, but you can't do it until you get started.
Gentlemen, thank you for all you do for the industry. And Gavin, appreciate what you're doing. I want to hear more. I'm sure we're going to learn more as the year progresses early in 2026. And on behalf of the Roundtable, happy Thanksgiving next week to both of you and your families as well.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Ted.
Everybody, Gavin Janis from Siro and Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey guys, Martin here, head of sales at Siro.ai. We're the intelligence platform for in-person sales. In this video today, I'm going to talk through the number one thing our top customers are doing that our average customers are not. Just as a reminder, Siro.ai is a tool that records, transcribes, and analyzes in-person sales interactions. We capture a ton of data through this process, which powers coaching, peer-to-peer learning, and cross-sell rehash workflows. So when we onboard customers naturally tend towards their low performers, right? Once they have these recordings of what's happening in the field, they're very excited to understand, are people adhering to the process? And then once they're adhering to the process, are they executing the process effectively? This is very good, and this does drive great increases in total sales output. But one of the counterintuitive things we found is actually the highest leverage thing to do once you implement this technology is spend a disproportionate of time listening to your top performers, deconstructing what they're doing, and then actually disseminating those nuggets of gold to the rest of the team. Let me actually break down what this looked like for one of our top performing customers and how it led to better results. So there was a big restoration shop in the Southeast, and for them, they had one clear in a way top performer. What they did once they started recording was they did listen to a lot of his interactions. What it turns out is that he was doing a relatively nuanced same-day closing technique that was above and beyond the process that they taught. Turns out that actually no one else knew that this tactic existed within their organization. So once they were able to codify what he was doing and why it was working better than his peers, they took that, and in the next team meeting, they shared it to everyone. I know this sounds insane, but literally the next week, closing rates across the team went up 20% because they just never knew that this tactic existed. In summary, guys, absolutely still ensure that your low performers are starting to follow the process when you record. Ensure that you're diving into specific moments and coaching on the effectiveness of that process, but do not forget to spend time listening to your top performers and actually break down and deconstruct what's making them top performers. And if you can find one or two nuggets of gold, share those with the team and you're gonna get some quick wins right away.
Join us in our next segment, filmed live at our pop-up event, to hear the journey to become the top workplace at Lithia Suburban Collection.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Bella Smiley, joined with... I'm Marissa DePonio. And today we have these lovely gentlemen here to kind of talk about how Lithia and the Suburban Collection is a top workplace. So, gentlemen, if you could please introduce yourselves and then a little bit of your background.
Yeah. Dane Topo, General Manager at Suburban Buick GMC.
Dustin Ciccarelli, General Manager at Suburban Subaru of Troy.
And I'm the other Dane Taylor. I'm the Regional Operations Trainer here. So I do all of our sales, service, leadership training, BDC training for the Central region and the Northeast region, which makes up about 80 stores. I've been in the car business for 26 years. I've been here with this group for 16 of those years, sold cars for a lot of years. And for the last 10 years, I've been in a training roles.
That is absolutely amazing. So being in the industry for so long, what sets Lithia and the Suburban Collection apart as a top workplace to be at in the industry?
Yeah, I think, and I started from the corporate side, so I got both sides of view of it. And it's the opportunities we have. Being as large as we are and the amount of different positions and stores in different states, we use that to our advantage. We have a ton of opportunity, and we're not afraid to share our talent. So if I have someone in my store that's doing really, really well, and maybe I don't have a position for them there, I can call Dustin or another one of our leaders and say, hey, listen, this guy's ready to move up. Do you have a spot? Like, he deserves to get promoted. We can move him around. Or if you have someone that says they want to move down to Florida, we got stores down there. We can send you down there, get you a spot down there. So
go to the UK if you want.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The opportunities are just endless with Lithia, how big we are. So it really creates a good talent pool for us and a good talking point to any candidates that we're talking to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, speaking of talent and all the incredible opportunities and, from both sides, I feel like that's exactly what you want to hear. Good community, connection. So how do you select, and attract this top talent? How do you select someone to choose to be lucky enough to work here and to get all these opportunities and be able to go to the UK if you want to and all these types of things? So how do you attract and retain that top talent?
Yeah, I mean, that's difficult. We do have the DART program now, which is great,
excellent.
Dane has Matthew Dashke working for him, who is definitely going to be an all-star in the business. It is difficult to, identify and, kind of pinpoint who is going to be successful in the business. So, part of the reason that we can pinpoint that is Dane's extensive sales training. He definitely gives us insight into what we're looking at in every department, right? Habits, are they going to be a culture fit, things like that. But really it's once they stay here, providing them a path to success is huge, right? So the people that really want to be successful here show us that early, and we can kind of see that, and then providing those individuals a path to success, what the future looks like, managing by thirds with them. These are things that we can kind of see kind of early, and it's cultivating those people and really having them embrace our core values here at Lithia.
Yeah, I think another thing too that it needs to be said is Northwood. I mean, Northwood is a great source for us. Dustin, you went to Northwood. I'm an honorary professor up in Northwood. We have not only do we have our DART program, but we have our DART internship program. And I know we had a lot of students from Northwood. A lot of them were freshmen and sophomore that came and spent the summers working in our stores. And then, they go back to school, and, we make sure that we stay in touch with them. And, the goal is that we provide them an opportunity for a career once they're done with school, so that they come right out and they don't have to worry about a job search or a job hunt, going on multiple interviews. We already know them because they've worked with us already and spent time with us. And, we know what they're all about, and we know what their drives and their motivators are. And we just provide opportunities for them. And I got to tip my cap to Northwood University for providing such a great pool of talented individuals and future leaders of the automotive industry.
I know that Marissa and I, being Northwood students, hats tipped back right to you for creating those opportunities and those spaces for us to truly get our hands on the industry, but also to excel in the industry as well. And you kind of touched on how students coming right out of college, you go through the DART program and everything like that. What does the career ladder essentially look like for someone that is joining Lithia today?
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit. I think we have to change our approach on developing people within. I think in the past, a lot of our mindsets were, hey, take someone that has this experience and they got to go to this department next, or they got to do this next. And the reality is we got to start looking at our own employees or candidates that we're talking to and saying, hey, what qualities can they bring to the table that could provide a benefit to the store or organization? And one of those is customer experience, right? We're all about customer experience now. We got to provide the best experience. And sometimes those people have no automotive, background at all. And end up being our best people. Mm-hmm. So I think inside, and when people are talking to us and they're in sales or it's an order, it's like, hey, what do you want to do? We have all these different positions. Where do you see yourself, and how can I help develop you here and talk to you to do that? But it takes a lot out of us, because now you have to set aside time every week, every month, and actually spend some one-on-one time, and not be afraid to spend the time to train that person, rather than, hey, they either sink or swim and move on. So it takes commitment from us to see those qualities of those individuals and promote within and help teach them and learn from amongst ourselves.
I think it's amazing. I think it really aligns with Lithia's mission and values of internal growth within their company as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful tribute to that as well.
Improve constantly is one of our core values, and and I think that is one of the things that helps kind of separate us from other groups. Is like there's a lot of either smaller dealer groups or single point stores that they'll hire a new person and they just throw them into the deep end and see if they can swim. And they might say, hey, there's some OEM training, go take that. But whether they're techs, whether they're salespeople, a lot of times they just see, okay, we hired him, seems like he's got talent, let's throw him in the water and see what comes out of it. Where we will never do that for our folks. Sometimes we're criticized for overtraining our people because we provide so many tools for them to use and so many resources for them to lean on in the industry. And to Dane's point, it's not always the right fit in service. So maybe we switch them to sales, and maybe they start in sales, but they'd be better off as a technician or a service advisor. So that's what I think is one of the great things about our organization.
Absolutely amazing.
So hearing how you guys have so many opportunities, and you just, you love the internal growth, just as Bella said, and that's amazing to hear as a Northwood student, as a college student in general. It's just an amazing thing to hear, and just a very good organization. How do you ensure that the employees feel that value every day? They know these opportunities, they know they can grow, they know that they're safe in a sense, they feel in a community. But how do they feel that true value, that motivation, that drive to make Lithia better every single day?
Well, I'm going to defer to Dane in a second here, but obviously there's employee appreciation. So how are you conveying that to your employees, right? Like I said earlier, providing the path to success. And like Dane said earlier, lateral moves sometimes have to happen, and that's what it takes, is identifying that this person might be better suited in this area. But back to the point of how do you show your employees that you appreciate them? There are different ways that we have to do that. And Dane has something that he came up with recently that I think is very pivotal to how a person feels successful here. So
yeah, it's recognition, right? We're fast to judge someone or have a conversation when something goes wrong, but we lack when people do good things. So one thing I implemented at my store that I took over this year that lacks some culture is I always said, hey guys, we're rebuilding a dream. So every quarter we nominate, based off our core values and a couple other things, we nominate an individual to win a brick. And I picked a brick because it's like, hey, we're rebuilding the foundation.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. So I put their name on it, the quarter it is, the value they won. And then it's crazy. Everyone at our quarterly meetings, they're like betting on each other who's going to win a brick.
Yeah, they want a brick.
So that's
I want a
that's all they
brick.
want is a
Yeah.
brick.
Yeah.
So it's gone over well, and we're about to do our next one in a couple weeks. So
That's incredible. Sometimes it just takes something that simple to really implement those values and continue that amazing community that you've all created.
And it's that even just that small extra 5 minutes of, hey, I see you today. Thank you for doing what you do. I think that is absolutely amazing. So hats off to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Very much.
The value
Coming out.
and the insight that you share has just, it's so amazing, and it helps us grow the industry as individuals and as students as well. So thank you absolutely so much.
Thank you. Great. Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
absolutely. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Experience more sales, more profit, more efficiency. Experiences consumers want and results dealers need with superior automotive insights fueling AI and the only industry partner that gives you best-in-class connected solutions. Cox Automotive.
Did you know your customers spend 100+ hours waiting for their car to be repaired a year? That's 4 days of their life. But Spiffy gives it back to them. Meet Spiffy, your mobile service software company. We help bring expert repair and maintenance to your customer's doorstep. Whether it be their house, their office, their salon, or church, we'll meet you anywhere. From brake checks, to flat tires, to tune-ups, we fix it so your customers can keep moving. Don't let a breakdown ruin your customers' plans. Check out getspiffy.com.
If your service lane's lost its groove, you need Frog Data at NADA 2026. Come experience fixed ops velocity and fixed ops mojo.